Hello, 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 everybody. Well, I'm lucky I got Billy Bean in this afternoon because we got a lineup tonight. So, we got Lucy in first. KK, where's everybody at? All right. Welcome, Mom. So, we got too much to keep track of everything. A lot of shorts, a lot of big videos, clips, couple Benny's, a couple Trisha, and Captain Kyle. Kyle came on with his video tonight. And we got an hour video, another good interview. So, how you feel, Derry? We are going to start right on the top of the hour. So, 5 more minutes, we'll be starting. We already got I got a copyright again, but I got 200 already on the first show today. They just block. Well, that's good to hear. Yeah, that's good news. Yeah, you got to keep on resting. We got our second cat lady one, Lucy. Um, but it's a sad one. It's a 6 minute one. The original source. So let me start by saying, God dang it. That's shocking that no one else is in right now. There is another fire, another explosion somewhere on that one guy channel. Everything on the IHOP value menu is. Oh, here we go. Rushed to the hospital this morning. Okay, got two clips on that. Yeah, we'll be starting here shortly. Yep. Well, I guess Trisha has something out. That's very important. All right, it's 7 o'clock. It's go time. Thanks, Carol. So we got a big lineup. So we're gonna do our cat lady first. $6 minutes.
Out there that have had it so much worse than me as a child. I am friends with some of you, and I've heard your stories, and they're absolutely horrific. I can't imagine. I can't imagine going through what you went through. I grew up in a household that you can't imagine either. And I had a daddy that wasn't a liberal. I don't know what he was. You know, it was like he acted just like these liberals do today. You know, back then, people didn't act like that. My grandfather got diagnosed with prostate cancer when I was 15 years old. He and my mother had this huge fight one night. You know, they're always fighting. And he screamed out and would continually scream out and laugh and said his old DICK is going to rot off now. Ha ha, won't be long. Won't be long. And that was my grandfather. You know what I'm saying? Like, he was saying this stuff to me. And I grew up like that, hearing the most horrific things. And then my mother, in response, would pull her eyes back and get in my dad's face and pretend she was talking Vietnamese. You know, oh, you're going to hit me, you're going to hit me, you think you're back in Vietnam? Knowing that he was so fucking trauma-filled from Vietnam. He had told me one time he talked about Vietnam. Just excuse the shit show going on behind me. It never stops. He had told me while he was in Vietnam, they were running from the Viet Cong. That's what he called them. I don't care if it's shit. I'm so sick of the fucking, I'm offended, you're offended. I'm sick of it. And his cousin stepped on a landmine, and they had run in opposite directions. Well, my dad told me he had to cover himself up with the pieces of his dead cousin because the Viet Cong was going through the jungle trying to find everybody. And he laid like that all night long, I guess, until help comes. So he was pretty fucked up from Vietnam, okay? Believe me. Believe me, I know. And I turned on the internet today. I get on TikTok, right? You know, they made my little funny thing today, trying to make people laugh. It's like, you know, what the fuck? You turn on, you get on this app, 1 minute you're laughing, the second later you're crying, another second you're mad. Your body is not supposed to go through all these emotions. And what's happening today? What's happening today? We're celebrating the fact that Pam Bondi has thyroid cancer. We're celebrating a woman that has thyroid cancer. We celebrated, we joked, we laughed, we danced in the street. We made songs about a man who was shot in front of thousands of people. We laughed about it. What the fuck is happening to us? And for somebody who is extreme empath, it is so hard on me. Like, I want to delete this app so bad, you know? And so I scroll up, and then what is it? A video of a man on a roof. It's a roof of a huge building, right? Nothing up there. The seagull had her little nest on top of this building. What does this man do? He walks over, looks around, picks the nest up, throws it off the top of the building. And then it shows the seagull later coming looking for a nest. Like, what the fuck? What is happening to us? Are we de-evolving? Are we going back in time? Because that's certainly what it seems like. The guy that introduced President Trump. I can't remember his name because I'm too upset. But he introduced President Trump. Jake, I think's his name. Everybody's losing their mind. How dare him introduce the President of the United States? Joey Behar on The View says, oh, well, maybe he needs to wear some extra padding. So that's what we're doing now. We're suggesting that people get hurt. We don't give a fuck if you've got cancer. We laugh if your spouse gets unalived. We celebrate when somebody runs up behind somebody on the street and takes them out. And we talk about how fine this person is. And we want to be with them. And we hope that happens to other people. There will be such a celebration in the streets if something happens to our president. And I don't know if I can handle it. I don't know how much more of this I can handle without deleting this out. And you know what? It seems to me that the evil is so much more prominent than the good on social media. It makes me wonder, is the evil more prominent than the good in real life? I don't know how you guys feel, but I am so exhausted with us as human beings. We are fucking spiraling. We are spiraling toward something that is going to be really scary. And we joke about Mad Max. We joke about that show, but it is not that far away. It's not that far away. When you lose every bit of your empathy and you laugh and you celebrate even somebody you don't like, that you've never met, the fact that they might die, and you're on this app laughing about it, and then you have kids, you have family, you help your kids blow out birthday candles. How? What are we doing? What is going to happen to us? How much more can this? And we're not going back, guys. It's not going back. It's not getting better. So let me start off by saying.
Okay, our second cat lady video. I got two. Oh wait. It's this one. I don't know what this is, guys.
People rushed to the hospital this morning and their home was destroyed in an explosion in the Texas Hill Country near Fredericksburg.
Sue Kalberg has more from the overlook at Bear Creek.
We are easily at least a half mile from the blast site, but even from this far away, it is obvious this 2,000 square foot house was blown apart.
All right, a neighbor's house blew up. 467, I did hear that explosion. I'm in there.
This is what neighbors saw and heard about 8:30.
Ooh, something just popped again.
They say the blast was heard at least 9 miles away in Fredericksburg. 2 people have significant injuries.
During that control of the fire, 2 patients were identified. They have since been transported to San Antonio area hospitals, one by helicopter, one by ambulance.
The effort to save them answered a community-wide prayer. In addition to Fredericksburg, volunteers from Stonewall, Willow City, Alamo Springs, and Comfort all raced to help.
A lot of regional support, area support, county-wide from our volunteer fire departments, as well as the Gillespie County Sheriff's Office.
The fire officials have said from the outset that it is way too soon to talk about a cause. So as we get more information on what exactly happened here and the condition of the victims, we will certainly pass it along. In Gillespie County, off Highway 87 south of Fredericksburg,
You hear about
Sue
that,
Kalberg
Kay?
reporting.
We did the cat lady here at the beginning and that one. And we got a big lineup tonight. We got Captain Kyle video and a bunch more. This is a short one. 3 minutes.
Family as the judge sentenced his former assistant, Kenneth Iwamasa, to nearly 3.5 years in prison.
I would have given him more, but the sentencing guidelines are pretty strict.
The most emotional moment when Matthew's longtime business manager, Lisa Ferguson, stared right at Iwamasa and said, "You are the monster that killed him," and then accused Iwamasa of calling TMZ right after the actor's death.
What kind of person was he?
Conniving.
He had full control over Matthew because he was feeding him drugs.
Just before he was sentenced, Iwamasa addressed the family directly and said he was sorry and full of regret. Prosecutors allege he injected the actor with ketamine 3 times on the day he died and also attempted to hide evidence, shredding prescriptions and deleting things from Matthew's phone. Kenny, is there anything you want to say?
I'm horribly sorry, and I wish I could turn back time.
Iwamasa avoided a harsher sentence by cutting a deal with prosecutors. He helped them build a case against his 4 other co-defendants.
Kenny has taken responsibility for his role.
The medical examiner said there was 3 times the amount of ketamine in his system than a dose he would get if he was getting heart surgery. It was easily enough to kill him.
Okay, I'm gonna put we'll see how this. I don't know. I guess I better not, because it's an hour. We're gonna. Four minutes.
I'm Sean Morgan, and this is the news behind the news. Considering developments reshaping American food traditions, the CDC estimates up to 450,000 people now face alpha-gal syndrome, a serious red meat allergy triggered by the spreading Lone Star tick. Bites introduce a sugar that...
Sorry about that one, you guys. That one was bad. I didn't want to hear that one.
Wednesday, May 27, 2026. Hello, I'm John Michael Chambers, and this is your War Report. I ask you to listen with love, as where we go one, we go all. The following report is provided by Guardian Daniel R. The era of Tesla. The looming release of cosmic technologies. Be sure to follow Off-World with JMC, launching in June. The veil of technological secrecy is on the verge of being torn apart. In the wake of the prepared implementation of the Sargasara, the military alliance plans the most radical, epochal shift in human history through the gradual release of over 6,000 suppressed patents. At the absolute center of this upcoming technological liberation stands the legacy, of course, of Nikola Tesla, whose groundbreaking discoveries regarding free energy were confiscated and locked away by the deep state for over a century. The foundation of the future energy infrastructure is set to be based on Tesla's principles of wireless power transmission and the utilization of space energy, zero-point energy. Once the declassification of these files is fully executed, the global power grid will be transformed into a decentralized, cost-free system. Gigantic energy receptors built according to Tesla's original designs will tap into Earth's electromagnetic field. They are intended to supply households, industries, and transportation wirelessly and emission-free with unlimited power, ending any form of artificial resource scarcity overnight. The most spectacular manifestation of this suppressed science awaits in secret for its deployment. What was dismissed for decades as UFO phenomenon will, upon disclosure, prove to be the declassified patent of the TR-3B Black Manta, a human-built tactical reconnaissance aircraft utilizing electrogravitational propulsion. The core of the TR-3B is a magnetic field disruptor that generates a rotating plasma, neutralizing the effect of gravity on the craft by up to 89%. The TR-3B and its successor models, which are based on the still classified patents of space programs, utilize free energy for interstellar propulsion. This technology will instantly render traditional combustion and jet engines obsolete. While the Alliance currently holds this fleet in secret to secure airspace and outer space, the future transition of civil aviation to this clean anti-gravitational transit is the next strategic step. This web of Tesla's free energy and the anti-gravity patents of the TR-3B will completely shatter the industrial foundation of the old elite. It is the final, prepared step of technological emancipation. Humanity stands on the threshold of leaving the age of combustion behind to enter a cosmic era of unlimited abundance, as God intended. Join me in 107 Live for the Patriot Q&A Power Hour, May 28th at 8 p.m. Eastern. Mark your calendars, get your questions answered.
Hey, our report guy there. That's another short one.
Kind of video, but I think we should talk about it because it's about the CIA and it's been picked up a little bit by the news. So a whistleblower has essentially said that the agency used consumer genealogical DNA information to track human alien hybrids. So let's break that down just a little bit. So when I say consumer genealogical information, I'm talking about like 23andMe, Ancestry.com. You pay to submit your information to them. And when I talk about these human alien hybrids, what I think they're referring to are individuals called Nordics. And so I'm not talking about people from the Nordic, but I'm talking about people that is believed, right, in these circles that they possess this hybrid DNA. So they are hiding out in small towns because they possess this DNA and they don't want to be found by the government. So that's where that sort of idea comes from. These two individuals, Jason Giorgiani, were discussing it. He is a philosopher and author, and then Lynn Buchanan, who is retired U.S. Army and has done a lot of work in something called remote viewing. So I want to talk about what remote viewing is. That actually was a program by the CIA that was run from 1970 to 1995. And it was actually utilizing or trying to utilize, this is during the Cold War, ESP to obtain information on the Russians. So things like submarine movements, best places to put beacons, just general political intel, and I guess like this non-invasive way. It was formally shut down in 1995 because it was, I guess they figured that the information that they gleaned from it was too vague. And all of it was declassified. So you actually can go under FOIA and look for electronic copies of all of it if anyone's ever, interested. And an individual who worked on it, who's somewhat prominent, his name is Kit Green, and he is a former CIA scientist. He worked there for 20 years until he retired. He did a lot in terms of neuroscience, in terms of medical intelligence, a lot of work with Havana syndrome. And he has said that the CIA has this like backdoor workaround to get into these databases. So a couple of things I want to say. So these databases did not exist when Kit Green was there. Also, I think these databases have actually shown through like multiple things that they are very, very hackable. And so what they're hackable for, obviously, we don't know. But personally, I do not think it is for this human alien hybrid DNA. So I just wanted to break that down a little bit because I've had some questions on.
Hey, a former three-letter word lady.
individuals were shot. Some of them were children, but they are bragging about the fact that actually nobody lost their life over the weekend in Chicago. This is the first time in a decade where no one has been killed over Memorial Weekend. Another massive teen takeover took place on the west side of Chicago around 2 to 3 in the morning, and an 18-year-old guy took his car and rammed it into a group of police officers, injuring 5 officers. Brandon Johnson, the mayor of Chicago, was asked about this, and he said that parents need to take control of their kids and know where they're at 2 to 3 in the morning. He said that his son went to prom, and he knew that his son was in bed at 3 in the morning. I agree with Brandon. Parents need to take control of their kids and know where they're at. But I also believe that the Democratic leaders in these Democratic-run states need to punish teenagers for the crime that they're committing. Democratic cities are turning into war zone. The level of violence is extreme. 22 people were shot in Chicago over Memorial Weekend, and they are claiming it a victory because no one actually died. That is insanity. Chicago had a bloody memorial.
Terrible. That's Nick's mom reporting there, I believe. We're getting the short ones in. Can't play that one. All right, I'm going to play it. This was a science video, I guess you call it. This is about 3 minutes.
Called it the rewiring. And science is actually beginning to measure this. It is called the Schumann resonance, the heartbeat of the Earth. For decades, it vibrated at a steady 7.83 hertz. But recently, massive spikes of over 100 hertz have been recorded. The planet is literally vibrating faster, and your biology is trying to keep up. The physical body is carbon-based. It is dense. The new Earth body is crystalline-based. It is light. The friction between these two states causes physical symptoms that doctors often cannot explain. Many of you watching this are feeling it right now. Symptom number 1, the high-pitched ringing. It is not tinnitus. It is a download. It is your body tuning itself to the new frequency, like a radio finding a new station. It often happens in the quiet moments or right before you fall asleep. It is a sign that your DNA is being upgraded to hold more light. When you hear it, do not be afraid. Stop, breathe, and say, I am listening. Symptom number 2, the 3 a.m. wake up. Are you waking up every night between 3 a.m. and 4 a.m.? You are wide awake, mind racing, or feeling a strange energy in your body. This is the God hour. The veil between dimensions is thinnest at this time. Your guides are working on you while you sleep, and the energy surge wakes you up. Do not fight it. Use this time to meditate or simply be still. Symptom number 3, loss of memory. Do you walk into a room and forget why you were there? Do you forget words in the middle of a sentence? Do you feel like you cannot remember what happened yesterday? Dolores said this is happening because you are moving out of linear time and into now time. In the 5D reality, past and future do not exist the way they do here. You are not losing your mind. You are losing the limitation of time. You are becoming a being of the present moment. Symptom number 4, deep exhaustion. A bone-heavy fatigue that sleep does not cure. You feel like you have run a marathon even though you have done nothing. This is because you are doing immense work on the astral plane while you sleep. You are helping to build the grid of the new Earth. You are processing immense amounts of cosmic data. Your body needs rest to integrate these changes. If you have these symptoms, do not run to the doctor in panic. Celebrate. It means the separation is working. It means you are not being left behind. You are mutating. You are becoming the new human.
How was that one? She has a new
you aren't being told about. While you struggle to pay for
studio.
groceries and watch your paycheck disappear, an elite political machine is quietly changing the rules of the game right under your nose. They want you distracted, they want you silent, and they definitely don't want you to know what's really happening behind closed doors. And this is where the story takes an even darker turn. The very people running these states are now aiming for the White House. The system is pushing leaders who brag about diversity while their own economies spiral into massive multi-billion-dollar deficits. They tell you to cut back while they live in total luxury. Think about your neighborhood for a second. Imagine waking up to find out that the boundaries of your community were completely redrawn by politicians just to make sure your voice never matters again. That is exactly what critics claim is happening right now in California with Prop 50. It's being called a massive gerrymandering scheme designed to wipe out political opposition entirely. Even analysts from Princeton University allegedly stepped in, grading the state's congressional maps with a flat failure, calling it one of the absolute worst manipulations in 50 years. The truth is starting to leak out, and people are finally waking up. But the real question is, by the time the rest of the country realizes what's happening, will there even be a middle class left to save? Drop your thoughts below because this affects every single one of us. But it gets even crazier. And while the system cracks, your safety is the real price being paid. The Department of Transportation is reportedly pulling millions of dollars in federal funding from California because local officials allegedly refused to enforce English language tests for commercial truck drivers. This happened after an unlicensed driver reportedly caused a horrific fatal crash. Critics are furious, claiming politicians care more about protecting illegal loopholes than saving American lives on the highway. It makes you wonder, is the media hiding the real collapse? Are regular Americans just being manipulated by an elite class that doesn't care if you can afford to feed your family? While ordinary Americans are feeling the crushing weight of skyrocketing rent and empty grocery carts, a shocking investigation from a California sheriff's department has completely blown the doors off the system. They discovered the entire voter registration process is essentially running on a blind honor system. Anyone, anywhere can apparently just click a box online and get registered. They reportedly found people voting from overseas, multiple ballots tied to local prisons, and over 90 voters registered with birth dates dating all the way back to the year 1850. Like, seriously, 1850. Your vote, your...
Okay, we'll get one more. We'll get one more with her. I've been missing quite a few
ground in a massive criminal fraud investigation that could completely sink two of the most powerful political figures in America. If you think your tax dollars are safe, you need to wake up right now because what they just uncovered is absolutely terrifying, and it gets even worse. While regular Americans are being manipulated, the DOJ had to issue a stern warning to major cities, reminding them that everyone has equal rights under federal law, regardless of their background. It feels like the entire system is actively rigging the rules against regular taxpayers, and older generations are watching the middle class completely collapse while younger generations are being priced out of life entirely. Think about where your money is actually going. Right now, there is a massive panic unfolding behind closed doors as the FBI and Homeland Security launch a multi-billion-dollar criminal investigation into Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, while California is facing an explosive fraud probe under Gavin Newsom. Seriously, think about that for a second. They are trying to tell you that owning property, the ultimate symbol of economic independence and your future security, is a problem. It makes you wonder, why is the media trying so hard to hide what's really happening? We're talking about billions of dollars in taxpayer money completely missing. And the official explanation from leadership is basically, we have no idea where it went. And this is where the story takes a dark turn. While the system forces working class families to struggle with rent, skyrocketing grocery prices, and high state taxes, political elites are pushing agendas that openly attack the very concept of the American dream. In New York, radical local leadership is actually claiming wanting to own your own home is somehow deeply racist and classist. Is this the future you voted for? How much longer are regular Americans going to sit back and pretend that this is normal? Drop your thoughts in the comments below because this affects every single one of us. But that's not even the craziest part. As nearly 2,000 federal agents swarm the ground to root out this unprecedented corruption, local establishments are reportedly refusing to even house them. In a leaked corporate scandal, a hotel property in Minneapolis was caught actively banning Department of Homeland Security and immigration agents from staying at their property. They literally told agents that turning away law enforcement was just management policy, but nobody expected what happened next. The chaos is spiraling completely out of control. In Georgia, multiple Democratic lawmakers have just been indicted by a federal grand jury for allegedly defrauding the public and stealing pandemic unemployment funds meant for struggling workers. Meanwhile, the suspect accused of shattering the windows at Vice President J.D. Vance's home was revealed to be the child of a wealthy political mega donor. The Department of...
Okay, yeah, she had a different background tonight. Those are two good ones. Okay, I got three more short ones. Did we do these this afternoon? I can't remember, you guys.
Dead Sea Scrolls, we learned about the Essenes. They believed the world was on a 7,000-year time clock, along with many of the early church fathers. Just like the Lord took 7 days to create the world, they believe each day represents 1,000 years, and that every 2,000 years is a different age. The first 2,000 years was the age of creation. The second 2,000 years was the age of Torah. The third 2,000 years is the age of grace, which we are in right now. The last 1,000 years will be the millennial reign, which is the Sabbath day rest. They went by the solar calendar, which only has 364 days per year. And with this calendar, they were able to predict the exact day Jesus was born. They even stated that Abraham was born in the year 1948 AM. And exactly 4,000 years later, in 1948 AD, Israel became a nation. They even prophesied that the Jews would completely abandon God's original calendar for the pagan lunar calendar. And this actually happened at the Babylonian captivity. Now, they used the solar calendar and interpreted Daniel's 70 weeks prophecy to calculate the arrival of the Messiah. And they did this by using jubilees. And they believed in total that there would be 120 jubilees, which is from this verse in Genesis chapter 6, verse 3. And the Lord said, "My spirit shall not always return of Jesus."
Okay, you got one more with her.
Coming this year, and the war with Iran is the proof. It says the year of the Messiah. Rabbi Kissen then turned to the Jewish calendar year 5786, which is this year. The gematria of 786 is identical to the phrase Yovo Mashiach, which is the Messiah will come. It is also the gematria of, I'm not even going to try to say that, but it means the revelation of the divine presence in Israel at Mount Sinai. He then cited the Yokut Shemani, which contains a passage that the Rabbi Kissen has referenced for years. Written thousands of years ago, it states that in the year the Messiah comes, Persia will declare war against the entire world. Edom, identified with the West, specifically America, will fight back and defeat Persia. And then a divine voice, a bat call, will ring out from heaven. Do not worry, the time of your redemption has arrived. Now, what gets me excited is this bat call, a divine voice that will ring out from heaven. As chapter 4, verse 16 says, "For the Lord himself shall descend from heaven with a shout, a bat call." You've got to listen to this.
Okay, two more good ones. About 3 minutes, I think.
Allowing me to speak today and for hearing the voices of the people who actually live here, work here, and care about what happens to Citrus County. I'm here today not only angry, but heartbroken. Heartbroken for our environment, heartbroken for our communities, and heartbroken for the future generations who will inherit the consequences of the decisions made in this room. These proposed data centers are not progress. They are industrial expansion disguised as innovation. They are being marketed to us as harmless development, but the reality is much bigger, much heavier, and much more dangerous than what the public is being told. Data centers consume massive amounts of electricity and water. They place enormous strain on local infrastructure and natural resources at a time when Florida communities are already facing environmental stress, water concerns, rising temperatures, overdevelopment, and disappearing wildlife habitats. How can we justify approving projects that will intensify these problems even further? Citrus County is not empty land waiting to be exploited. It is home to springs, rivers, wildlife, trees, wetlands, and communities that people have spent generations protecting and loving. And yet, little by little, we are watching it disappear. The beauty that once defined this county is being replaced by endless concrete, traffic, light pollution, and overdevelopment. Places that used to feel peaceful and natural now feel crowded and commercialized. Every new project is sold to us as growth. But at what point do we stop and ask, growth for who? Because it certainly doesn't feel like growth for the working people who live here. It feels like profit for corporations while residents are left to deal with the consequences. Higher strain on resources, environmental damage, loss of green space, and the slow destruction of the very character of this county. What makes this even more painful is the people have spoken. Residents have shown up, they've voiced concern, they've expressed anger, fear, and opposition, and it still feels like those voices are treated as obstacles instead of warnings. Leadership is supposed to protect the people and the land they serve, not sacrifice them for corporate interests. Once our water is contaminated, once habitats are destroyed, once ecosystems collapse, once this county loses what it What made it special, you can't undo it. No amount of tax revenue can restore a destroyed spring. No corporate promise can replace lost wildlife. And no economic talking point can bring back a community's trust once it's ignored. We are told these projects represent the future, but a future that destroys natural resources and prioritizes corporate convenience over environmental responsibility is not a future worth celebrating. Citrus County does not need to become another cautionary tale of greed and overdevelopment. We deserve leaders with courage to say enough. Enough destroying the environment for profit, enough ignoring residents, enough of treating Florida's natural beauty as expandable. Please do not approve these data centers, because years from now, when people ask what happened to this county, what happened to its beauty, its water, its wildlife, and its identity, your decision here today will be a part of that answer. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, that's a board meeting on the data center. I got two short clips, the military waters there, then Captain Kyle will be followed by that. Captain Kyle will be after these two. Oh, that was part one.
And laying ships from hundreds of miles away? The answer is the P-8 Poseidon. These aircraft, along with the Navy unmanned submarines, are equipped with technology so sensitive they can detect the exact acoustic signature of a single sea mine splashing into the water. But fighting the mines is only half the battle. So how does the U.S. military actually strike back? While the U.S. has a massive arsenal of naval ships, helicopters, and fighter jets ready to hunt down these fast attack boats. But here is the problem for the U.S. military. The Iranians still have 30% of their surface-to-air missile sites active. The second of U.S. fighter jets take off, the Iranian radar screen lights up. You might remember the last time? A U.S. jet was hit by an Iranian missile and the desperate, high-stakes rescue mission that followed. It's a nightmare the U.S. refuses to repeat. To neutralize the threat before a single shot is fired, the U.S. calls in the EA-18G Growler and its mission to completely blind the enemy's radar. But how exactly did U.S. forces detect covert Iranian mine layers operating in the pitch-black waters of the Strait of Hormuz? The U.S. military was placed on high alert when intelligence detected a critical threat. The IRGC was attempting a bold move, using their naval assets to drop mines and choke off the strategic waterway entirely. Under the cover of darkness near the port of Bandar Abbas, two Iranian fast boats began maneuvering to deploy naval mines. They thought they were alone, but little did they know. But high above, a U.S. Navy P-8 Poseidon was quietly orbiting near Bandar Abbas and Keshem Island in the Strait of Hormuz. Earlier, we had tracked two of these modified Boeing 737 taking off from Sheikh Isa Air Base to scan the Strait and the Gulf of Oman. Often described as a flying sensor truck, the P-8A is heavily equipped to detect submarines, mines, and boat swarms using the powerful array of radar and sonobuoys. But the aircraft wasn't working alone. The Navy also deployed unmanned...
Okay, part two. Ah. Dang it.
Under the area. Below the waves, the U.S. Navy's integrated undersea surveillance network, combined with advanced submarine sonar, had already isolated the Iranian vessels. Using this state-of-the-art technology, commanders in the 5th Fleet could analyze the precise acoustic signatures of the fast boats, listening right down to the heavy metallic splashes of the mines hitting the water. The hostile act was instantly verified, and that is where all hell broke loose. This is phase 2, how the U.S. responded. Above, the U.S. launched a multi-domain response with attack helicopters and strike aircrafts and was immediately scrambled to neutralize the maritime threat and protect global shipping lanes. Because F-15 fighters are strictly land-based and do not operate from aircraft carriers. So a squadron of F-15 E-Strike Eagles was launched from a regional Allied airbase. They carried a heavy payload of precision-guided munitions designed to address both the waterborne targets and shore-based air defenses. Interestingly, electronic warfare was the tip of the spear before the F-15 jets. Launching from the carrier strike group operating in the Gulf of Oman, EA-18G Growlers pushed ahead of the strike package. But the electronic warfare officer in the backseat of the lead Growler began mapping the electromagnetic spectrum, preparing to blind Iranian early warning radars along the coastline. Overwatch and Recovery Ashore specialized quick reaction teams spun up MH-60 Black Hawk helicopters holding at a forward operating base to provide immediate combat search and rescue in the event an aircraft was downed. How do you disarm a deadly naval trap in the dead of night while staring down the barrel of an active surface-to-air missile? You don't just drop bombs, you blind them first. The strike package of land-based F-15 East Strike Eagles pushed deep into the contested airspace over the Strait of Hormuz. They were flying on the deck, using the coastal mountains to hide from Iranian radar. But as they pierced the 20-mile striking window, they also deployed.
Okay, we got 2 short clips on the military. Now, 16-minute Captain Kyle for this week.
Just wanting to bring you some information that really needs to be on the forefront of everybody's mind, and understanding that so much has happened and so much is happening that the enemy is just in full-on panic and freaking, they are panicking. And I mean, over the edge. And the question is, why? Why are they panicking so much? Is it that they're completely losing control and it's trying to reestablish some kind of fear-based situation? Or is it that potentially they are trying to plan something to basically install a new fear dynamic into the equation? Because what it appears is that they're beginning to say those quiet things out loud. And when your enemy begins to say the quiet things out loud, you need to hear it. You need to hear what they're saying, and you need to, in that sense, believe what they're saying. There's a video that came out just recently, within the last 24 hours, of James Carville, and that video is going to be linked in this description, but it's also going to be posted right after this. And in that, they are saying just how they feel. Exactly. And I don't think it's going to be up on YouTube very long. I think it'll end up getting pulled just because of what it actually says. It's absolutely crazy to understand that they are not
I got a big
positioning
hour and a half
what they're saying based upon disagreements in policy or disagreements in outcomes. It's being promulgated by hate. And I mean just full-on hate. And when you have Trump derangement syndrome that bad, and you're trying to invoke a emotional response from people that are already confused, and I'm going to use that word nicely, on the other side, because they've been lied to, programmed, and just completely disillusioned in reality. And it has gotten to the point where it's ridiculous. But I'm going to tell you right now is that the psychological operation and psychological warfare that is being constructed against the population is instrumental. I mean, it's just nothing. I mean, this is taking what actually happened in COVID and taking it to a whole nother level, because it is manipulating people in the political arena to not base their decisions on actual outcomes or policies, but 100% off of emotional responses. And that is dangerous. And when they begin to talk out loud and say these things and trying to provoke responses emotionally, this is where people that are already potentially psychotic and having issues with mental capacities become dangerous. And they know that. And this is exactly why they're doing it. They may say that they don't want any harm to come to anybody, but they're provoking a response that actually does just that very thing, because they're speaking in ways that it's a threat to democracy and the way we live our lives forever. They're under threat, not the country, not the people, not anything other than their criminal construction of the way that they have put their whole system in place. That's what's a threat. That's what's being taken down. And they are freaking the F out 100%. And this is what they're actually truly afraid of. And so in that, you need to listen to this video and you need to understand that this is what they're trying to provoke people into this kind of reactions. And you know, it's not just that, it's all of the disinformation that's being just bombarded out there from that, even AI. Okay, so there's another video that I'm going to have on here too, and it's about the AI data centers and how that is the disinformation on causing fear is being massively pumped in through the CCP and through individual billionaires that are wanting to manipulate the market and trying to cause delays or that it doesn't even happen here in the United States, because they're working for those same kinds of programs outside of the country. And when Trump and the administration basically say that we're going to be the leader in all those things, well, they're trying their very best to stop that from being the leader of those innovations so that they can be first in line, out in front. And they're spending massive amounts of money into these different NGOs and organizations that have these wonderful environmental slogan names to them and everything else. But when you go back and you find the funding that's being funded to those organizations, they're coming from places like the CCP and individuals that are part of that. Even with Cuba and what's going on in Cuba, you have to go and find out where that information is coming from. And they're using massive bot farms and bots to spread this misinformation using AI to manipulate people to create fear so that they throw the brakes on everything and trying to delay or stop our advancement in where we are headed, because there's nothing going to stop it. So you can either get on board, question, and be smart about it, or you can fall into the fear category, which that's what these individuals that are funding and institutions are funding, so that they can put that fear on you and put you in doubt and giving you false information about how we're moving forward. So be wise. We should be spending our time developing our discernment and our development, because when you do that, this is how you see through that BS, and you actually become a lie detector in your own spirit on when you hear things and whether or not it is basically truth or whether it's BS, because your spirit it'll tell. And so I want to encourage you guys to spend less time in the social media realm of chasing information and spend more time with your spiritual side, your inner work that needs to be done, because that is very, very important right now, because the wheels of what are visual out there are coming off on purpose, and the guardrails have already been removed. And so this is gonna get bumpy. And if you don't follow all of the fear mongering and the noise and all the crap, it won't affect you, because you're intentional in what you allow to come in and what you allow to stay out there. And this is very important right now, because we are in a pivotal time of basic psychic bombardment into our reality, trying to stop the timeline in which we are already shooting down. They are doing everything that they can to attack, trying to feed off of the energy that we have created. When they start to push you by psychologically putting you into a lower frequency, by carrying that much energy with you, they are just feeding on it. And so don't allow that. Stay out of that BS world and know that nothing is going to stop what's coming. And we win. You win. And the future is absolutely incredible. It's just like this whole thing that's going on with Iran and the energy and the oil markets and all that. It's all being intentionally manipulated to expose the corruption, the money, the players that were involved in this, and bringing them to their knees. But there's no threat of any oil shortages at all. And the markets are finally seeing that right now, because it's been exposed to the point where there is no actual energy shortage. It's only been a manipulation of those markets. And just like Trump said today in the meeting that he had with the cabinet, that when this little war and this little crap is over with, there's going to be such an abundance of energy. It's going to be overwhelming. And we, America, are going to be at the forefront of it. just understand that all of this is being set up on purpose. And if you stick in that stuff like that they're trying to show you, it's going to cause you to be all over the place, and it's not intentional for you. It's intentional to the world, to those that are sleeping, and to expose the criminals and the individuals that are manipulating it 100%, because it's being played at a whole nother level that they got no idea what's happening. They're being played by a master. So just be encouraged that things are not as they appear. And it's like, even the video I showed you earlier today about Admiral Edward, in 1 week, his whole identity changed, and he's got a hole in his neck, and that doesn't sound the same or any. I'm just trying to show you guys that things are not as they appear, and they're wanting to somewhat show you, but not show you, but bring exposure to things. They're trying to wake people up. 100%. You don't play by the way that the White Hats want it played, they'll replace you. If the deep state, if the ones that are left don't play by the way that they want, they will replace you. But if you can't see what's actually going on, then you're too much in it, and you need to get out of the weeds. Because when you get out of the weeds and you get out of the crap and work on your spiritual side and then come back into it, you have a whole new awareness of everything. Take a freaking break. So I love you guys, and everything is going to be okay. Know that it's going exactly the way it's supposed to, and you are right where you're supposed to be. Love you guys.
Okay, that's this week's Captain Kyle there. I got a new one, Benny, and then I'm going to go do Benny and then the Wire Channel one, and then the hour and a half video. Oh, wait. I'm going to do this real quick.
Last 24 hours, President Trump himself reacted to it, socialized the story. But we now have a second piece of evidence that the Justice Department under Joe Biden knew that its raid on Mar-a-Lago was bad. A couple months ago, we told you that the FBI had memos saying that they did not believe they had probable cause to raid Mar-a-Lago, but they did it anyways. They went into the president's home looking for allegedly classified documents. Well, a couple days after that raid, one of Merrick Garland's top advisors, someone he personally brought in to make sure that they stayed ethical in their investigations of President Trump, wrote an email saying, I don't believe we had the right to go raid Mar-a-Lago. In fact, I've been worrying about it ever since I found out about it. Why? As she noted, and as we reported at the time back in 2022, she believed President Trump may have declassified the documents before he left office, and therefore had every right to possess those documents at Mar-a-Lago. That is a smoking gun. Those two documents together could potentially create an overt act in a conspiracy case alleging that President Trump's civil liberties were violated. That is exactly what Joe DeGenova and the team in Miami and Fort Pierce are looking at. Today, that team was in Washington meeting briefly with the Attorney General, Todd Blanche. We'll have a lot more on that as the next few days unfold.
That was off of Patriot Princess channel. So credit with her with getting that. Okay, 10 minutes.
society built by men with men protecting them, and institutions effectively geared and dialed exactly to what they want to hear and listen to and believe. It is such a nice life for a left-wing lib activist, but they're constantly banging on about how oppressed they are inside of this most privileged land. In fact, AOC gives stadium speeches against the patriarchy and the oligarchy and gets all of her lobotomized, smooth brain fans to clap like seals for lines like this.
Donald Trump is a criminal who was
See,
found
there you go.
guilty of 34 felony counts of
34
fraud.
felony.
Oh, AOC cares about fraud now.
Sexual abuse.
Sexual.
Of course he's lying and abusing and manipulating the stock market too.
Remember, AOC is here to fight the oligarchy and the patriarchy, she says. She is fighting against the man, against the power structure. And so why don't we go ahead and ask AOC about this? I mean, wouldn't this be the perfect emblematic representation of what you're fighting against? Forcing a woman, I mean, you are an enlightened feminist, right? You are against the third worldism of locking women up in bed sheets like this. This happens, of course, in 47 different Muslim majority nations where women have to wear varying degrees of black bed sheet. But in a lot of places, well, this is what you get right here. Assassin's Creed, right? So what is it? It's a hijab. What does a hijab mean exactly? Well, there's different types, but here's sort of the overview here. It refers to the principle of modesty. It's placed on women covering their hair, neck, and chest with a headscarf or veil, sometimes their full body totally covered. The Quran instructs women to draw veils over their heads and chests, and it talks about drawing outer garments over themselves for recognition and for protection. It's obligatory for Sunni and Shia scholars. Once a girl reaches puberty, we must cover them in a giant black bed sheet. It has different styles and different cultural interpretations, but the most common interpretation is that it is seen effectively as a symbol of oppression, according to feminists and critics. Yeah. I mean, listen, I'm not sitting here saying that the OnlyFansization of women is good either. I think there's a happy medium, quite frankly. And so while I think this should be illegal, I think OnlyFans should be illegal. I think that you can find moderation in the middle, but AOC ain't doing that. AOC on her Fight the Patriarchy and Oligarchy tour didn't mention that it would be her who'd be wearing a hijab today. Would you look at that? Here's AOC wearing her little hijab and giving a little speech.
To our neighbors, our community, and to this country, we can bring light to our neighbors.
Wow, this is interesting. Why is AOC wearing this hijab? I thought she was against the patriarchy. What is she doing here? Well, this is AOC hijabing up in front of all of these Muslim men. She's like the only woman that was allowed. And all these Muslim men are doing some type of Muslim sit-in somewhere. Today we honor Prophet Ibrahim al-Allah. Remind us that sacrifice is not a burden, opportunity to see ourselves part of something larger, to extend a hand, blah, blah, blah. I'm honored in New York City's first Muslim mayor, determined to lead the city in solidarity for groceries and housing. In solidarity, Eid Saeed, New York. Is there ever going to be any end to all of these made-up holidays? Okay. Wishing you a joyous, blessed Eid al-Adha to those observing today. Huh? Special day in our communities, in your family. Eid Mubarak, says AOC. Oh, wow. Well, it looks like the patriarchy and the oppression is perfectly fine to wear in America. This is what fighting the patriarchy, looks like AOC. AOC should try to go inside of a mosque and pray. See what happens. Latina AOC is now wearing a hijab. That's how things are going in New York. This Islamification of New York City. Mayor Mandami is wearing Muslim garb. He's wearing some type of, I don't know, dress. Giant dress. So way to go, dude. AOC now is wearing a hijab while Mandami smirks behind her. How embarrassing. New York City Ugandan mayor is attending events today wearing a man dress. AOC is culturally appropriating wearing a hijab. What has happened in New York City? I guess she's Muslim now? Pandering different crowds once again. AOC, ladies and gentlemen, champion of women's rights and open borders. Women's rights, open borders, as AOC speaks behind a giant bulletproof wall. AOC is now wearing a hijab. Beyond pathetic. AOC, hijab day. What is she wearing? AOC is a Muslim now. Okay. Remember that AOC, who called for a global intifada, said it's a lie.
You guys had a very when do you agree with Zoran that we should globalize the Intifada? You were just with him this morning. You guys had a very nice breakfast. I saw you. I saw your sign.
Congressman is named down the future leader of the Democrat Party.
Newborn parents, this is what you need for wake windows. You want the look or play kit as soon as...
I guess she says it's a lie, according to the clip. Okay. Sitting congresswoman wearing a hijab. Well, in the United States is unbelievable. This is an invasion. The left's kabuki theater constantly consume donning ethnic dress or terrorist garb, faking Indian accents or broken English, while speaking down to blacks. They are flat out deranged. It does happen. Democrats absolutely love the lack of separation between church and state here. What do you think? Okay. So here's what it was. Not a lot of women here. Very interesting. Well, that's because they segregate, actually, in their Muslim prayer. And that's what's going on. So it'd be really nice for people to wake up and to understand the reason why these kind of big public demonstrations and prayers are going on is because it is about colonization. It's about shoving it in your face. The left isn't about separation of church and state. They're about separation of Christianity from America. You see, the left actually understands something that conservatives don't, or we've just become too fat and happy and didn't think that it could happen to us, but it happens to all cultures, which is that you become the people you bring here, the people who live here, the tradition of the people who live in the land. If you let them conquer your land, you'll become that. It says so in Deuteronomy. Careful of the foreigners. If you let too many in, then you will become their slave and they will be your masters. You will have no money to lend to them. They will have all the treasures of your land. They will become the majority. They will rule over you. It says so right there in the Bible. You got to be careful about this kind of stuff. They don't assimilate. They take over because they know something conservatives don't. A nation isn't a list of values that somebody reads off a card. It's not nice words written on paper hundreds of years ago. It's the people. If America ceases to have European Christians in it, and we cease to be the majority, then America fundamentally changes. It becomes something else. When you import the people, you import the nation, and your nation dies. Yes, when you take someone from Somalia, they don't assimilate, and that's plainly obvious. Go travel to Minneapolis. So left is going to continue to do this. It's conquest. It's colonization. Dami is carrying out the Islamization of Islamic conquest in New York. We told you, why is she wearing a hijab? She's not in a mosque or an Islamic theocracy. She's submitted to the patriarchy. AOC advocating for women's rights, speaking out against the patriarchy, immediately capitulating and covering up as soon as she gets the opportunity to. I'm old enough to remember when socialists pretended to be afraid of Christians turning America into the handmaiden's tale. Here they are bowing down to radical Islam, which is the most oppressive and sexist ideology on earth. Everything they do is fraudulent. They stand for nothing but power. Facts. Facts. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope that brought you a little chuckle but also a renewed understanding of what we're actually fighting. It's your boy Benny. Like, share, and subscribe.
Okay, that was a good one, important one there on about AOC. So I'm gonna try to get this on this interview. I think it's a big one. So let me know and I'll stop it if you guys don't want me to play it and go on with other intel. But I got quite a bit of stuff out already. I want to get this interview in and see how it goes. It's about an hour 20, but it's up to you guys whether you want me to stop it or not. Chico. Chico?
And the games that are being played often and every day. I thank you, God, and I just praise you and honor you and welcome you in Jesus' mighty name. Amen.
Stop it.
So, John, I want to let my guests know who you are. I'll do a little intro and then I'll let you do some talking here. So, John Michael Chambers is the founder and president of JMC Broadcasting, over 200,000 followers and 15 million views monthly. He covers military intelligence, and I love the generals he has on, especially the Marines. He does economic news, and he'll be doing with some health-related information. And we've done some of that stuff here. I kind of cover that same spectrum with cancer things and lots of stuff that they don't want us talking about. John is an author of several books, including Amazon 5-star, Trump and the Resurrection of America, bestseller, this one I'm not surprised, Genocide Jabs, I like that, Vaccines, Villains, and Victims, 5-star related newly released book on Amazon, Global Financial Reset. I wish you all would get these books. Surviving and Thriving the Transition. John is also a public speaker, a songwriter, creator and founder of America Media Periscope. I used to watch Periscope in the day, and so much more. He does radio, finance, just an amazing guest. And from the time I invited you on, so many crazy things has happened. But the first thing I want my guests to do is to get to know you. So can you tell us what brought you to JMC Broadcasting after Periscope and what got you involved?
I'm going to fast forward a little bit.
Like, I woke up and do this. If you can give our audience here a little perspective of how that came to be, where you got these generals on, and I love that you were able to do this, and just describe to them how you can give them a perspective that is above this little view that they have. That's really important.
Well, as you know, been in for many years, overused terms, but they're the best words to describe it. An information war where psychological operations are being deployed by us, against us, for the betterment of us, oftentimes very confusing. And PSYOPs being run by us, of course, against the enemies of freedom, and then they're deploying PSYOPs against us, the enemy. So you've got a whole crisscross of a whole lot of confusions. Add insult to injury, as an old expression goes, then tack on fake news to muddy up the waters. And lastly, and unfortunately, many of the podcasters either have no idea what they're talking about. Some are bought and paid for. The president, Devin Nunes, seems to have a few opinions about some of the top podcasters that have gone south on truth. Yeah. And so, it's no wonder. And of course, people are busy running around in the controlled hamster wheel matrix designed for them.
Right.
So when you put all that together, people need help. People need information. And so for me, it was a no-brainer. We're at war. Well, let's talk to people that understand that.
I love it.
Rather than your standard run-of-the-mill pundits to, spew their views.
Exactly.
And so that's what I've done. I consider it an information portal during a time of war to help people make sense of the madness. And because Now, it's not that our audience or even myself included, but by and large, I do agree with everything my guests say, but
Yeah, me too.
but basically, you have people that know more than the average person, and and so when you hear it from someone who's a retired lieutenant colonel in good standing of 20 years, or retired generals like General Blaine Holt and General Flynn, I've talked with in the past. I've talked with McInerney. I've talked with Vallely. But presently, I have two different military panels, and they're very vastly different. Each panel, Eyes on Gitmo, is a monthly show with Brigadier General Blaine Holt, retired Lieutenant Colonel Matt Meck, who's also Juan's Chief of Staff, Juan O'Savin on the intelligence side, and Captain Pete Matasu, who I'm really so glad I've been introduced to. And then we sometimes Tony Schaefer, Colonel Schaefer comes in, and on the other panel, and both of these have been in their second year now, they're also monthly, is Ricardo Bosi, also known as the Australian Juan O'Savin. I call him, along with Juan, two international treasures. So we've got Ricardo Bosi on that panel, Michael Jaco. People don't, people should understand his extensive background. Derek Johnson, you alluded to, right there. If folks just want one source to connect the dots, that we are in fact in continuity of government, we are in fact in a military operation, and everything the president is doing is lawful and constitutional. All they have to do is follow Derek Johnson's work on the executive orders,
You guys okay with this?
presidential executive, I think administrative or whatever it is, documents, and the law of war manual updates, and how he grafts all that together to make sense of the current events. But and then we also on the panel have retired Lieutenant Colonel Tom Lennox, retired Delta Forces Colonel Chuck Sellers, Brad Wozni, Captain Rob Cunningham. These are powerful men that have been to a few rodeos. So I like to know what they say and they see. But at the end of the day, you mentioned earlier central casting. Sure, I mean, the president's said that hundreds and hundreds of times, still does. And central casting was established in 1925, as I understand. It's a body of doubles and stand-ins and fill-ins and replacements. And so what is Trump doing? I mean, there used to be little minor hat tips. If you looked at that interview on Fox News relatively recently, the guy with the mask cut off right at the jugular. I mean, they're putting it in your face, folks. And what does that also tell you? Not only the fact that the people are masked, but the fact that who must be in control of mainstream media to a large enough extent to get that deployed on Fox News?
Exactly.
And the answer is the white hats. The answer is the military. This is a military operation. First and foremost, America, and then this global defense war alliance under Donald Trump as the supreme commander in chief, if you will, it's a course correction for all of humanity. And you hear the term Western Hemisphere getting redirected. There's reasons. This is a plan. Anyway, but back to the average folk, we'll say that it's easy to get very frustrated on, and I do too sometimes. I'm gracious. I'm understanding. They're looking at things that maybe you and I knew about 30 years ago. And, so we're like not jaded, but it's like, hello, come on, hurry up, people, wake up. But the only time I get frustrated, I'm human, is when they just make such ignorant statements and then attack you on your statements. Hey, so right now I'm a little bit more, when I happen to be interacting with the public through public timelines or an email I give access to, sometimes I'll portray a part of me they don't see as a show host, and that is called tough love. Sometimes you have to be tough. But at the end of the day, we want all our friends, not the lunatics and the crazies, the hell with them. Get them out of the way, kick them off the side of the road, let God handle them later. But the rest of us, just because a blue flag or a red flag or a Democrat or Republicans. Way past that. It's nothing to do with that at this point. And we need to help them. So one of my missions is to create broadcasting that makes it palatable for them to come and take a look.
Yeah.
You know, where it's professionally, at least to the best of my ability,
Right.
professionally produced, professionally delivered, and again with military, intelligence, economic, and now healthcare experts, because nobody trusts anything anymore, and rightly so.
Right.
Ronald Reagan, trust but verified. Boy, do we need to do that today. But you know, I like George Carlin. He used to say, "Garbage in, garbage out." Right. So you know, be careful who you listen to. Whittle it down. Find a professional broadcast that's making sense of the madness for you. Chaos without clarity and problems without solutions is not good broadcasting at a time of war.
Exactly.
So we strive to calm the waters, not hopium. They get the good, the bad, and the ugly, but they get the truth.
Right.
Somebody once said the truth will set you free. So there you have that.
There we have it. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, this is what I've noticed. And what makes me sad is even family members, people older than me, and then some of the younger generation that I speak with. As a minister, I talk to a lot of different people. And some of them don't even know what's going on. They don't know what's happening on the day-to-day. And I'm like, because they're stuck in their jobs. And I'm like, you have to pay a little more attention for where we are today. You know, and but the older ones that are buying some of these turncoat podcasters, you know, I'm going to say it, Alex Jones, Megyn Kelly. I couldn't stand her when she attacked Trump about, he was so right about Rosie O'Donnell. I'm like, what? Why can't we tell the truth?
Rosie O'Donnell. Sorry.
Well, 9:30.
I love it. I love it. Yeah. That was hysterical. But, you know, and you're sitting there, Tucker Carlson. I used to love Tucker. All of a sudden, he's scary, you know.
Well, and don't forget to add Marjorie Taylor Greene and Candace Owens to the list.
Yeah, never liked Marjorie. My people used to say, I said, "No, there's something there. I'm not connecting to her," and I'm glad I never did. And Candace is from Stamford, Connecticut, where I'm from. You know, and she in the beginning she came out blazing. Telling the truth about slavery, who sold people into slavery, then hanging with Charlie Kirk. And now it's like ridiculous.
You know, I had a theory, and I published this, you know, on just like a meme type thing on social media a couple of months ago, asking when Dan Scavino.
So we got overtime tonight. I don't know if you guys want me to stay up or not, but Captain Kyle, that one video he was telling me, you guys like John Downing, don't you? 45 minutes. If you guys want me to play that after this.
Vino published on Truth Social or X, I can't recall what you're talking about here, where he stated something like, we had a lot of people in government working for the American people, and there's you guys out here pretending to work for the American people and making hundreds of thousands of dollars and getting clicks and views. We see you. We're watching you. Okay, something of that tune. Following day, the president posted as a follow-up to Dan Scavino, naming all the individuals that you just named in the top of it, and then, you know, Trump style, reminding people of who's low IQ and who's Marjorie Taylor Brown and so forth and so on. But, you know, I came up with I posted as a question on social media when this was glaring, and honestly, they're just distractions to me. They're like barking dogs chasing a fire engine. The fire engine is going to keep going and put the fire out, and the dogs are just, you know, rah rah rah. You know, but I did comment on it at the time, and that it's one of three things, and I've got an updated view on that now. But one of three things: one, they're clueless.
Right.
Like when you break that down, you say, well, they certainly have deeper pockets than I, and therefore one would assume they've got research help. Well, they can't be clueless, okay? I mean, you got to be half asleep not to, you know, find information. But they're either clueless, having turned the way they have, they're either enemies, or they're part of the PSYOP, and should get Academy Award for Central Casting. So. I don't know, but as time gone by a bit now, since I first launched the three conclusions, Clueless is off the list now.
Right.
And if someone would press me and say part of the PSYOP or enemies, I'm going to say enemies until again, it could be part of the PSYOP. I don't even think that's Alex Jones. I think Alex Jones has been that's not Alex Jones. There's a lot of people that aren't who they are.
Right.
And that thing we just saw on Fox News with that guy with the mask, that's putting it right in everybody's face that can't see it, that denied the fact that wasn't Joe Biden for 4 years.
Right.
Well, now they're sticking it in your face.
Yeah.
I mean,
With
come
the tall
on.
Joe Biden. Do you remember the tall Joe Biden? He was like a whole foot taller than his wife.
Yes. And the very short Hillary Clinton.
Yes.
I mean, go on and on. JD Vance, do the homework on JD Vance. That's not JD Vance.
Yeah.
I got opinions about Elon Musk. When it comes to the dead and alive thing, and I'm not in the camp that says everybody's dead and everybody's replaced. Of course not. Yeah. But there's quite a bit more of it going on than meets the eye. I'll tell you that.
Right. Well, they started filling Gitmo a long time ago. Works was showing us all the flights to Gitmo, and a lot's been done. We were talking about a friend that I had. I love this man. I got infiltrated by, believe it or not, crazy witches from a temple in Massachusetts, and they started trying to come after everybody and then break up the groups. And they would say that they were ritually abused and they needed help and ministry. And oh my God, it was crazy for a while. But they were getting in between, and they would break up relationships to stop the movement forward. But one of these guys, Field McConnell, he would tell me things, and within days, one day he told me something and it happened that day. I believed everything that man ever told me, but he was far out there. He was always cussing. He loved the Lord, but he was far out there. And, people still to this day, they drive me crazy with, they just buy whatever somebody's saying. We have to have some mental clarity. Like, I feel like people have lost that ability when you've been fed everything from media. Then you have social media feeding you. And I've watched it. They talk about Mockingbird Media, and a lot of these other podcasters, they're doing the same thing. If you watch, they're all doing the same thing. It's, again, a new version of Mockingbird Media. And I just pray, God's will be done on earth, and that we wake up, and that people like you and myself and Juan and all these wonderful gentlemen that I honor so much as a military veteran, that they are waking people up, that something snaps in that programming that they've received, and that they can hear the truth.
This is one of the reasons why the plan has taken all the time it's taken, besides the fact that it's global, 8 billion people, underground tunnels, underground cities, rescuing children. I mean, every battle, we've been facing, but at the end of the day, we've been dumbed down, completely brainwashed. We've got chemicals from the sky coming down at us. All of our food is fake. The information's not real. I mean, the entire world we've been living in is a facade, a farce, and a evilly controlled matrix.
Yes.
In the hands of evil. And people are busy trying to, not run out of money at the end of the month. And so the people that at least are listening a little bit, they don't understand the importance of the why.
Yeah.
So they're just like, well, I don't want taxes on tips, or which is great. All that stuff is fantastic, but they just look at the trickle down benefits that are coming our way or have come our way or been pledged to come our way, but they don't understand. Like, if you say that, they realize that the Federal Reserve is a private entity, illegal and unconstitutional banking cabal that's finally going to be ended now, thanks to the Trump administration. We're going to restore sound money, and it means nothing to them. Yeah. They don't understand what the president, the White House, the White Hats, and the military are doing in Venezuela, in Iran, in Cuba, why we're talking about Canada and Greenland and other things. people have to understand, but keep it. Here's what's going to happen, in my opinion. Certainly, and really, in the next one big jolt, more than likely within the next 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And nobody likes timing. I get that, but there's a reason for these dates, and because they're date specific based on what the president has told us, with between the redirection to God, dedication to God now with prayer, and then the July 4th, hanging the carrots of the July 4th announcements. But at the end of the day, what's going to jolt the rest of the people to realize this is what has been going on is it goes beyond. People just unfortunately need to see it to believe it.
Yeah.
And I understand that. What they have to understand is this is a clandestine military operation, which is why it hasn't been shown to us directly.
Right.
Okay. And they don't have an obligation to. And they don't even have an obligation to tell you you're in advanced martial law, and you are.
Right.
And that's the way it is. But they will be shown, and that's really going to tip the scales, because now I believe they've dripped and dripped and dripped enough over the last several years, the White Hats, if you will. And now everyone's going to get a helping hand. And this is where the EAS or EBS comes in. I'm not one of those people that have been saying next Tuesday at 3:30 the EBS like everyone's been doing for 10 years.
Yeah,
you won't find me on record like that. But I do believe it's coming.
Yeah.
I believe it should come. A lot of the military folks, I've asked them, they all say yes.
Yeah.
And it's just a matter of how it'll be deployed, because it can be accomplish a few different things, and when. But I believe when that happens, and it will, as you know, and maybe your audience is hearing this the first time, but there's a media center already built at Gitmo. In fact, Matt Meck, as you know, retired Lieutenant Colonel Matt Meck, once Chief of Staff, was down there helping oversee that years ago. And it is there. I'm told it's like the size of a school gymnasium. And we know Catherine Herridge has been down there for a year or so. And I know somebody who is, can't mention the name, going through the process right now for approval to be there as a media correspondent. So we're going to be reporting from Gitmo. You bet we're going to start to see the truth. And when we're shown the truth, that's when everyone else piles in. And I'll call it Kiss a Conspiracy Month. Kiss the Conspiracy Theorist Day.
Right, that's a good one. Yeah, they'll all be coming to my house because I've been called a conspiracy nut for so long, and I don't care, because they code all the time. We had Q, and a lot of people thought Q was crazy. Of course, it eventually got infiltrated. They had to change Chan boards. Then then they went silent. I said, okay, we're over the mark, because I was telling somebody, when you're in an operation, you're not talking loud when you're close to your, your objective. And, so it was like, okay, they're quiet now. We're in it. Let's go. And, and they're still coding. They're still coding. And if you pay attention, you would probably hear it. The generals, of course, I know it. Trump codes all the time. A lot of these guys code all the time. And I love it. That goes over the head of your main audience, and then when you tell them, they think you're nuts. You're crazy. You're just
see the Q argument was easy when Trump. I don't know how many times. I think it's 30-something times. Somebody counted it. Yeah, well, that's probably hundreds of times. But where he actually retweets or retruths other people's stuff with him standing there with a Q plus, and Q in the background, and 17 century. I mean, so when people were calling folks like you and I Q-tards, and they were supposed Trump supporters. My rebuttal to that was, oh, really? Well, then you're calling your commander in chief a Q-tard. But I'm way past all this at this point. I'm not trying to win any popularity awards. I could care less. I'm on the pulse of truth.
Yes.
And I help make sense of it for the masses through the incredible guests I have and the consistent reporting. I'm doing my job. So when someone just takes a dart and throws it at us, hey, you know what? You're going to get a light pistol whipping from us, because that's not what you do. Now, it's different if you're just saying, hey, what's happening here? I don't understand. What is that? Well, that we welcome. Sure, we're happy to direct you, do your research, come to conclusions. But look, at the end of the day, we're this close to having sweeping events be presented to the world that'll just move the world over. and I'm very happy for where we are in this war. We're winning this war.
Yeah. It's beautiful.
And the second cluster of time that's important besides the next 6 weeks
Mhm.
is between now and certainly right before the midterms.
Mhm.
These are going to be two broad trigger periods of time as far as I'm concerned for a host of reasons.
Right.
And while we are winning, I
Right.
mean, we're witnessing the demolition and
Right.
dismantling legally and constitutionally of both the IRS and the Federal Reserve.
Yes.
My God, are those big stories? You bet they're huge stories. I can't believe they're even happening.
I
And
know.
they're happening. And that's just tip of the iceberg. So, yeah, the golden age is coming. New
Yeah.
currency is coming. President Trump said in 2017 with the military brass behind him at the inauguration, I'm giving you back your country. We're restoring the power back to the people. And these just sound like politician or political sound bites. No, that's exactly what he's doing. And that's why he had the military behind him to say, this is who we is.
Yeah.
And you are the rest of the we, and we're bringing it back. And you can't restore the republic or give your country back if you still let the money be controlled
Right.
by the Federal Reserve and central bank system. That's
Right.
been dismantled.
Yeah.
And so great stuff is coming. And I know most people say, well, I didn't get my $2,000 check yet. And you show me the evidence. You know, I want to see Obama in handcuffs. Listen, we all do.
Yeah.
We get it. You either trust the plan or you don't. And let me tell you something. There is one day, if I had a research team, I'd have them compile a list of all the unbelievable and incredible victories that we have had over these years, particularly in the last year, to connect the dots even further for people.
Yeah.
But it's exhausting. So instead I do the broadcasting and like I said, the EAS or EBS, whatever it's going to be, reporting from Gitmo, people will see it all soon.
It's going to be beautiful.
And now the unity really strengthens.
Yeah.
And we've taken the clutches of the evil hands off of the world.
Mhm.
I mean, they're losing control.
Right. A lot of people don't know that this was not just Donald Trump deciding to run. Donald Trump was asked to run. There is an alliance, and they're generals. They're amazing men and very tight knit. You don't just come in and join the group, you know. And it's trusted people, trusted, and he was the most dynamic candidate for central casting for what he's doing. I served under Ronald Reagan and I loved Ronald Reagan. We loved him in the military. Like nobody, you know, it's such an honor. My son just did 6 years in the Air Force and he served under a little bit of Biden and Trump, you know? So I said, what a legacy, you know, Reagan and Trump. I served Reagan, he served Trump.
Nice.
And so he's home now. But you know, this was not just Trump deciding to come in and twist and change everything and everybody thinks he's not. This was a well-planned, well-orchestrated operation. And, you know, but people, again, think you're crazy. You're a conspiracy nut. You don't know what you're talking about. You believe in Q, you must be crazy. You must, you know. But I did want to, because if you don't mind giving me a little more time, that noise was somebody coming by my front door. So I apologize.
I didn't even hear it.
Oh, it sounds like Tinkerbell. But, you know, I'm trying to tell people not to get up in arms about the Ebola. And then it was, you know, Hantana, whatever it's called, virus. And then and I keep saying, watch the playbooks. They're doing the same stuff over and over and over. And if you start.
Not working this time.
No.
Not working.
You know?
No, listen, fear, you know, you know, it's all fear. You get everybody scared, their health. But listen, I shouldn't say this until we launch our lean and mean health reporting with Christy Lee, but instincts have usually served me well, and observing the obvious and having some common sense. It ain't working this time. And so that's where I stand on that. Doesn't mean that people, it's just nonsense. It's just all nonsense as far as I'm concerned.
Like, it's their playbook. Please just pay attention. Eat vitamins. You know, don't get in fear, because that's a big thing. You know, it says God has not given us a spirit of fear. He's given us a sound mind. And that's what's missing in society today. Everybody's afraid of everybody. I asked the Lord once, I said, Lord, why, are they constantly dividing us? And what I heard in my spirit was, this is the enemy's attempt at Babel. He learned from God himself that if I keep people separated with different views and different voices, then they can't come together and accomplish anything. And this is why I think I'm with you that these rogue podcasters are actually enemies. They're not, I don't think they're like, who would destroy their reputation for a LARP, as we're watching this play out, I'm like, I tell people, they say everything you've ever said for almost 10 years now has come to pass. And it's like, well, because I'm paying attention, and I go, now watch the playbook. They're doing everything this playbook. You got these Hakeem Jeffries, who's I can't stand listening to him talk the way he talks, you've got Cory Booker. I want to tell him, shut up. I don't want to hear your mouth,
I am doofus.
Yes, exactly. Here in Connecticut, we got some bad ones. We've got Murphy, Blumenthal, and Delora with the blue hair. And I'm telling you that Connecticut, if you drive during any presidential election, it's all you see were Trump signs everywhere. But yet we have no representatives on that map for the redistricting. Nobody. Right. It's all blue. And so I'm out there trying in between surgeries and doing things. Why doesn't anybody care about this? Talking to my state senators and they're like, well, it's the way we do it. No, it's not the way we do it. We have to do it Constitution. That's this, let me see this, nobody knows this anymore. They don't teach it in school, the Constitution. They don't teach us about our country. There's no pride. They took prayer out. Now they were showing somebody today, who every time they play the national anthem, this one woman in that state turns around and faces the opposite direction. As a veteran, that insults me. You know how many men I've seen under that flag when I go to Walter Reed, please, so the other thing that I just really want to tell my guests is the economic news. A lot of people didn't believe in, because I don't want to keep you too long, your day's just getting started, but they don't believe in the Sarah Jacera. They don't believe in this reset. They don't understand that the Federal Reserve is Rothschild owned. It never was federal. They said whoever owns the money runs the world. They knew what they were doing. Like you said, every time we started to do well as a nation, they changed the rates, and then we begin to struggle, and people are thinking this is normal. And what happens is, if you feed an animal in a cage, eventually one day you can shut the door and it stays in the cage. If you could just say a little bit about what you've learned from your experts and your own opinion on where we're going with the economic reset.
Well, let's begin with Dr. Jan Halper Hayes, who served on a committee task force in the Department of Defense, now Department of War for some years, operating from England, back home now in the States. I've interviewed her a few times. She broke the news. I mean, we knew about it 10 years ago, but she broke the news on Great Britain news a few years ago that went viral. President saw it, commented on it, where she basically had those guys for lunch, those two show hosts that thought they were going to, have another field day against our commander-in-chief. And she redirected that communication by starting out with 18. This is an answer actually to your economic question. Yeah. 1871. You want to start connecting dots, folks? Yeah. Well, you want sources? Well, there's a Department of War source for you, Dr. Jan Halper Hayes. And 1871 U.S. Corp is what President Trump is presiding over, the bankruptcy and dissolution of that's been going on since he made those comms with the Queen and then recently with the King and so forth and so on. So there's a dot on the economy, all right? Second dot is most of that USDebtClock.org debt, the $39 trillion we always hear about, is not ours. It was fraudulent. It was illegal and unconstitutional. And for all intents and purposes, in one fell swoop, that's going to be wiped out.
Yeah.
The second thing is you're talking about connecting the dots on a global, what I call a GFR, a global financial reset. It's not just a currency series of resets, it's a reset of the entire financial system. And so, so the dots are easily connected on the powers that Trump has taken away from the Federal Reserve since 2020 and moved those powers into the Treasury, and which is the executive branch, of which he's the president over, which we vote in. So now we're restoring money back, control back to the people versus the unconstitutional Federal Reserve and IRS. So those are big sweeping statements to economic shift. Now the dollar itself, we want that to go away because it's not a dollar. It says right on the bill, Federal Reserve note. Well, what's a Federal Reserve? It's a private bank. What's a note? It's a debt. It's a debt too. It's just a debt instrument. We're debt slaves. We don't have any money, and we haven't since 1913. And Nixon put the last nail on the coffin when he took us off the gold standard, known as the Nixon shock. So these are just some dots from the past and the present. And then the president himself has said this, I don't know how many times, including State of the Union. We don't need any more income tax. We're going to stop taxes on tips. We're going to stop taxes on Social Security. We're going to stop taxes on property. All of these things are no longer needed. We have the 18 trillion pledged from foreign countries and governments, private corporations, foreign and domestic, 18 trillion over the next 10 years, committed to building and manufacturing and doing business here in America. Never mind our oil and gas exploration. We're now the largest supplier, manufacturer, and distributor of oil in the world. Whoever would have thought that? And so things are changing, and so the March 26th, the Treasury Department, as you know, published a press release, I'll call it, that basically said we have new currency coming out, and it'll have President Trump's signature on it. The first time a sitting president has a signature on the bill. Of course, the Treasury Secretary as well. So we have new money weeks away from being brought into the system. We know about, to your question of Nasara, we know about, and a lot of the elements of what I'm talking about is part of Nasara.
Right.
And so then you have, so we're going through a great change. And I have to remind your viewers, no pain, no gain, while we're winning. And these are important things. Juan O'Savin, who knows a thing or two about currencies, having been one of the chosen 5, as I understand it, during Ronald Reagan's administration to take down the Russian ruble, which led to the collapse of the Soviet Union. So, in fact, I'll be meeting with Juan here in Asia and within the next few weeks for an all-day sit-down. It's been a few years since I've had that opportunity with him, so I look forward to it. But I'm rambling here to get a lot of stuff out real quick on the currency and on the reset. The conclusion of it is, Juan said, we are, with all we've been through and with all that lies ahead in this war, it is the financial, I'm paraphrasing him, the financial area that is going to be the most challenging for us, and where we may be facing something on the scale of an economic extinction event. Okay, so there's some paraphrases from Juan O'Savin. So people need to understand that, and then we get into so many more things. But at the end of the day, as you fast forward, I don't know the time frames, incrementally, starting the next 6 weeks to the next 3 years would be the Federal Reserve note will be something the world, and certainly us by and large, will no longer be using.
Right.
We'll have our Treasury-backed, Treasury-controlled U.S. dollar backed by gold and other commodities. We have our sovereign wealth fund. We've got the St. Germain Trust. We got the 650 airplanes that we brought the gold back, stolen by the Vatican, under the underground cities, and go on and on and on. There's your reset, folks. All leads to that QFS. And by the way, anyone who says to you, message me, get your QFS, you can't exist for us. The system's set, it's been beta tested, it's ready to roll, but it hasn't been deployed for us yet. So anyone who says that they're stealing your money, we got tons of those stories.
Thank you for
But
saying.
in conclusion, there's your global financial reset. There's your currency revaluations. This is why, and lastly, silver and gold.
Yes.
The banks have been playing control of this. because of the Federal Reserve has gold still marked on its books at $42 an ounce. It trades at 4,600. They've manipulated everything. The Q board, and by the way, Q is, of course, the greatest open source military intelligence operation of our time, born and raised out of the Department of Energy, which is the battle of all the battles, right? So, and by the way, we should touch on UFOs in a moment, or off-world issues, because that's talk about reveals. Well, there's a nice one coming.
Yeah.
But back to the conclusion of what I'm saying here is, I was talking about the Fed and the IRS. Yeah, that's a smattering of what's happening, and it is big. Now, we know there's a big problem in the bond market. Even Jamie Dimon, left on side of the aisle, is on record for that. This will be, according to Jamie Dimon, the biggest meltdown of any market sector that the world has ever seen. And so that's coming, and the estimates are 6 to 9 months before it will really rear its ugly face. And real estate is coming along with that issue for a while. And then there's some folks that say stocks themselves will collapse, and I probably would agree with that at some point. But what I was getting at was the banks, the naked short selling of the paper value. That's how they've suppressed gold and silver all these years. That is over. And that's why you saw silver hit 120. Today it's at 80. Gold and silver, from analysts, economists, left and right, doesn't matter, all have silver at 200 to 300 an ounce before this year is up, and have it far higher than that later, and gold as well. One last thing, because I just want the machine gun, since time is short, that there is a financial reset happening. And everything I'm saying, if anyone listening says, this guy's crazy, before you criticize and accuse, walk a mile in my shoes, and go do some of the research, and then come back and say I'm crazy. So at the end of the day, that's part of the reset. And gold and silver, there's floors going to be set. This has been discussed as part of potential public policy soon, laws, and then a possible pegging gold, real money, back to its real value. Some people have that as low as 10,000 an ounce, which can be the stroke of a pen overnight, or as high as 20 to 25,000 an ounce. But these are because we're restoring sound money. The Constitution says only Congress shall have the power to issue and control the value of our currency thereof in weights and measures, because you have to weigh the amount of gold and silver to back the currency. We're getting back to that in conclusion, in a series of steps, right? So we have our new money coming soon. Trump money, I'm going to call it for the moment, just for fun, just to really aggravate some people. And then we will eventually, in a series of steps. I didn't get a memo from the president, so I'm not giving you specific facts. But as you study, connect the dots, and interview the people that know more than I do, you come to the conclusion that once we get that new money out and that Fed note goes down, there'll be a lot of pain and suffering in that, the bond market and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, we'll have sound money. We have all the wealth. It's already been recaptured. That debt will be paid off. Elon Musk's on record, paraphrase him in the last 3 months, saying two things. And I'm going to say these things, and people, just to show you how jaded everyone is, and how like, whoo. Hey, listen, Elon Musk said a couple of short years from now, there'll be no need to save money anymore. And then he spoke about there will be high universal income. Now, I know that terminology sounds like World Economic Forum. I'll come back to that in a minute. And then he says, and eventually you won't even have to work unless you choose to. So what does that tell us? Well, that tells us a lot of things. It tells us that AI and robotics are going to be taking a lot of jobs, number one. Number two, the repatriation of all the stolen wealth has been calculated from all the unconstitutional and illegal income taxation. That money's coming back to we the people. And go to the USDebtClock.org. It's got like 83,000 per citizen right now on some formula. But then there's the birth certificate trading, and it's not a conspiracy. I did a full episode on that for 2 hours. Everything's in there.
Oh yeah.
The Vatican in London made trillions off of us, trading us from our birth as a commodity. all of that wealth is going to be repatriated back in some formula or another. There's part of, again, your Nasara Gasara question.
Right.
The what's the Bible call it? What's that term? Every certain amount of years, debt is forgiven.
Jubilee.
Jubilee. Yeah, all of these things are boiling in a pot right now, and that's why Musk can say those things and not look crazy and be proven right later.
Yeah.
And so, and Stan Scavino and the president are talking about no taxes here, there, and everywhere. You got the tariffs. Hello, folks. There's your reset in layman's terms, in a nutshell.
Yeah.
And of course, the average dart thrower is going to say, "I can't pay my bills. Show me the money. What do I?" We understand all that.
We're all going.
Get plugged in. Follow the right content. Those of us of faith pray. I have a whole website called wealthcoachuniversity.com, free 10 video modules to help people get out of the system.
Yeah.
Because during that's why the book I just wrote is about global financial reset, surviving and thriving the transition. Those that don't have any money, which is the majority of America, the middle class has been gutted out by design. And so people don't have two nickels to rub together. They still need to listen to the shows and the content that I publish because it affects everyone.
Right.
Jubilee, get high income, no need to work, repatriation of wealth. There are formulas of money that's coming back to us and humanitarian projects based on certain amount of wealth that you'll have that can be. This is what I've learned. I mean, we're going to have to see it play out, but it's extraordinary time, and I think people don't realize what life is going to be like, let's say 3 years from now. It's really going to be incredible and vastly different. So the last thing to say about the economy is, again, let the Federal Reserve note die. Let all the noise happen during transition. You have to realize those in control of the money, London and the players, they're not going to let quadrillions of dollars go without a fight.
Right.
That's why Juan put up the red flags. So those that have assets to protect, that by hook or by crook, in a system designed to make sure you can't get ahead, if you've managed to do that, Walt Whitman once said, it requires a great deal of effort and a great deal of caution to make a great fortune. And once you have acquired it, it requires 10 times as much effort to keep it. Man, is that's true ad infinitum in today's environment. So people need to get out of the system to an extent. And I cover that, again, in the 10 free modules and on the show with the guests, because if you do nothing and just stay in the US dollar, stocks, bonds, and mutual funds and real estate, you will lose almost everything. The elephant in the room is the currency, and you hedge against that with gold and silver.
Gold and silver.
Bullion, not semi-numismatics, not partially rare coins. There's a whole story there.
Yeah,
it's a buyer beware market. I got a whole module on that. But anyway, there's your reset in a nutshell. Many of the aspects of Nasara Gasara are unfolding. Some may or may not. But ultimately, it will be a series of steps. Fed note gone, new dollar backed, okay, strength, blah, blah, blah. Okay, then moves into a stable coin. Stable coin goes into a QFS, and you are your own bank.
Amazing.
And then through AI, reading everything about you on new devices will also play a part in how much of that repatriation of wealth that's been credited to your account will you have access to. Now we're going into speculation land, but it's from a lot of interesting people I've interviewed. But that's where we're heading. There is a reset going on. It's going to get worse before it gets better. I'm not just to throw a lot of last minute things out. I'm not concerned about the midterm elections. I know that's not a good thing to say, but the president, follow the president. Forget all the podcasters. He told you straight up, hey, you don't pass the SAVE Act, I'm going to get the job done anyway. Declaration of emergency, election emergency. Folks, we got it. And 95% of Congress, both sides of the aisle, will be gone before his term is up. When his term is up, he may still be here. There's a lot going to change, folks. And it's just what the doctor ordered. And the last thing to say is this is God ordained. Here's your pecking order of command and control. God, Trump, the White Hats, the military, and you and me and everyone listening right now, we the people. Together, we're going to save America, and that's what we're doing. and we're redirecting humanity on a course correction. And Trump's taking all the arrows and the movement's going crazy. And I say, shame on them. I had someone I know for a long time, hardworking patriot, done incredible work for 40 years in political activism, who's lost it.
Yeah.
And I just said, how dare you abandon your commander-in-chief in our time of war?
Seriously.
You know, have faith.
Yeah.
And you know, you could take the horse to the water. If people would watch my military panels alone, or my every other Monday BOSI briefs with Ricardo BOSI, and took the time to actually watch and listen, and then anything that seems like that can't be, well, first off, look who's telling it to you. It isn't me. I'm just a messenger. Okay? It's people with special ops experience, people that understand the art of this war.
Right.
You should listen to them. And then do your own homework.
Right.
Then come back to the table.
Exactly. Oh, I love that. I love that explanation of Trumpopoly. That's what I like to call it, Trumpopoly. I don't know if anybody else is saying it, but I made that
First
up.
time I'm hearing it.
Okay, good. That's I'm coining it. We can use it. What was that? Very quickly, because then I do want you to touch on UFOs quickly. The Wealth Coach website.
Okay, it's a website called wealthcoachuniversity.com. The reason this site was born about a year ago is the public was asking me, hey, we love your panels, we love the work you're doing, but you don't spend enough time on the economy. And so I launched a weekly live show. It's live every Wednesday, 8:30 p.m. Eastern, Global Financial Reset, where I bring on a lot of great guests.
Yeah.
And we machete through it all. Second is I formed that website. And I don't know, I spent 100 hours designing 10 video modules. And I encourage people to go there. I wouldn't say dumbed down, but I would say it's high-level content delivered in layman's terms, so that makes sense to people. There are 10 video modules on how to GOOTS, G-O-O-T-S, get out of the system.
Yeah.
I say that tongue-in-cheek. The only way to fully get out of the system is to move to Mars with Elon Musk. But there are things you can and should do. Remember, I used to be a financial advisor. I was independent. I had 6 offices in 3 states, and I did that for 12 years.
Yeah.
So I know what goes on in the Wall Street Club.
Right.
And I left that in perfect standing from all regulatory bodies back in 08, 09. So, when you look at what I know what goes on back there, and you look at the world that we're living in this reset, you need help. And the 10 video modules are there for it. So that's what that site is about. 10 free video modules and a lot of other resources.
Right.
And you mentioned earlier about the lack of unity, or the devised division that they do for us. I always remember 9/11, and these words kept coming to my mind. Tragedy brings unity.
Yeah.
During 9/11, I'm talking about fresh off the heels, those days and weeks on the streets of New York City.
Oh, I was down there.
There was nothing but unity. No one cared if you were gay or straight, black or white, Jew, Christian, Muslim, rich or poor, whatever, man, woman, everyone helped each other. All right. And,
Okay, sorry guys, but I got 2 videos I want to get out. We just got an even hour, so we missed about 26 minutes. And so I want to get John Downey and Captain Kyle and Benny just came out with a big video. I don't want to go over 3 hours.
Kalshi? Yeah, the prediction market that lets you trade anything from sports to alien sightings.
Have you ever caught somebody in a lie and they just refuse to take responsibility and own up to it, and they'll fight you and drag it out, and you finally just shrug your shoulders and give up, because who wants to waste their time and energy on this kind of stuff? And years later, they might admit that they were wrong, but in the end, you're just like, why are humans put together like this? Well, generally for power, people don't like admitting they were wrong because they feel like it takes power away from them. People like to lie for power, which is exactly what happened during the Biden administration when Joe Biden once live on TV crapped his pants and got up during an interview and ran away. And the dingbat host had to act like nothing was wrong with this. Remember, this is live on MSNBC, back when it was still called that. Joe Biden, in the middle of the interview, just gets up mid-question.
And the ones that didn't vote for your bills but run on them.
That's right.
Mr. President, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Nicole, I
much. It's
appreciate
great to have
it.
you. It's
Thank
great
you,
to have
thank
you.
you,
Thank you. Don't go anywhere. It's a very exciting day around here. We'll have reaction. And
So then, like, the cameraman deserves an Oscar for following Joe Biden as he wanders off the set because this is such an insane thing to do. You wait for the commercial break, then you leave, but something horrible happened. We think it was a bathroom event, and we have some good evidence of that, quite frankly. We have a lot of evidence of Joe Biden physically collapsing everywhere that he went. It's hard to really internalize that this was the president of the United States doing this at military academy graduations. What does it say about our country? It says that we're, of course, a country in decline. We're a country that's already been defeated. And we have a federal government that will openly and needlessly lie to us. Like that one time when Kamala Harris reassured the viewers of CBS's 60 Minutes that Joe Biden was very, very much alive.
Not able to run, that there would be a free-for-all for who would run as president.
because Joe Biden is very much alive and running for re-election.
He's very much, she's so good at this. She's so good. Look at this. Joe Biden's very much alive. What a great thing to have somebody say about you. Well, ladies and gentlemen, all of us were right and all of them were dirty liars, and we caught them and they refused to admit it for power, a sickness in the human soul, even though it was happening in front of all of us. Remember, Joe Biden having to take the small stairs, Joe Biden nearly falling on his face right here, even though he has his hand on, look at that. He has his hand on the railing. Secret Service agent running directly behind him in case he collapses. He nearly did. They pulled this stunt with us for years.
Traveled 17,000 miles when I was vice president. I don't know that for a fact.
What do you guys think of this
And
one?
we were sitting alone.
Yeah, he
I
had a
had
lot
an
of
interpreter and he had an interpreter.
views on this one.
Look at
America is a nation that can be defined in a single word.
Look at the expression.
I was in the the foothills of the Himalayas with Xi Jinping, traveling with him. Travel 17,000.
Ketanji Brown Jackson. Dude, when you're cringing out Ketanji Brown Jackson, who has an IQ of like room temperature, right? 70, I would say.
5,000 views.
We got problems. They all knew. They all lied to
minutes.
us. And now they're admitting it. Now they're admitting that they lied to us. Biden's team won't let him trip mission, the number one mission of the White House. Don't let the president trip. Well, Jill Biden's finally coming clean, saying that she was frightened by Joe Biden's 2024 debate performance and thought that Joe Biden was having a stroke. Oh, that's great. Let's jog our memory here.
Making sure that we're able to make every single
What was
solitary
Joe Biden
person,
sounding like during this debate?
eligible for what I've been able
You might
to
have
do
forgotten.
with the COVID, excuse me, with dealing with everything we have to do with, look, if we finally beat Medicare, we're trying to provide housing for Black Americans. The impact on the choice, the idea that they're gonna, I've been proposing that
hard to watch.
Everybody, the millionaires pay 1%. So no one after, I've not raised the cost of Social Security for anybody. I got my handicap, which when I was vice president, down to a 6. And wants to get away with, get rid of the ability of Medicare for us to be able to negotiate drug prices with a big.
Okay, so this is the first ad in presidential history that just featured the other candidate talking. And I feel like we're going to get a lot of these. Well, anyway, Jill Biden now is coming out saying that she lied. she lied because Jill Biden held a little pep rally for Joe Biden after this and announced.
Answered every question. You did such a great job. You answered every question. You knew all the facts. And let me ask the crowd, what did Trump do? Why?
Yes.
Joe, you did.
The iconoclast image of a left-wing woman. There you go. There you go. This is men. Careful who you marry. This could be you. What a prison. What hell on earth. And what did Trump do? Lie.
And let me ask the crowd, what did Trump do? Why?
It was you who was lying. Isn't that amazing the way that this all works? It's biblical. It's nearly biblical. How you were the one lying the whole time. Because Joe Biden's now saying, oh, actually, Joe Biden sucked.
Horrified as you saw it unfold?
I wasn't horrified. I was frightened because I had never, ever seen Joe like that before.
Really?
Or since.
Really?
Never.
Or since?
Yes. Or
You've
since.
never seen him like
never.
that?
No.
What happened?
I don't know what happened. I mean, as I watched it, I thought, oh my God, he's having a stroke. And it scared me to death.
You answered every question. You did great. What did Trump do? Lie. No, you were the one lying, you dirty witch. So evil. So evil. I watched it. I thought, oh my God, he's having a stroke. It scared me to death. She then covered it up and then tried to keep in the race Joe Biden. It was Jill Biden, actually, who was fighting to the death to keep Joe Biden running for president, in spite of thinking her husband had a stroke. What an evil, evil woman. I'm frightened that she's been having a slow-rolling stroke for roughly 6 years, and she didn't see it before. This is called a limited hangout. Biden's performance in the 2024 debate against Trump was not much different than how Biden appeared in multiple public appearances prior to that. It wasn't shocking for anybody watching closely. It definitely wasn't shocking for his wife. Man, she must really hate him. Why else do this to your husband? Wow. Having been scared to death by his performance, she went on to tell him he had done a great job. You did such a good job. Ha ha ha. So frightened afterwards, she said, you did a good job. You answered every question. I just don't know. The Democrats are fuming right now. And as a doctor, she would recognize the warning signs. That's right. Oh, man. They all lied. Everybody lied. Everybody knows it. They all knew. And they did it for power. And they did it to try and steal the nation from you. Remember when you were told you were crazy for thinking the same thing 2 years ago? The president of the United States was running circles around his staff. You remember that? Remember the op that Biden has so much energy, no one can even keep up with him? Weird, right? Joe Biden immediately after the debate said, you did such a great job. Yeah, it's lying. And I don't know why people do it. I don't know what's wrong with people, what's in their souls. It sucks. But it's also sucks that they're continuing the lie today. I thought Joe Biden had they told us Joe Biden has terminal cancer. Stage 4, metastasized to his bones. That's really bad. We haven't had a health update on Joe Biden in ages. That was like years ago. They told us that. Are they lying about that? What else are they lying about? It's crazy. You can't believe these people because they're still lying. You'd never seen Joe Biden like that? Lady, I just played you 5 videos of Joe Biden acting just like that. You're his wife. You see him every single second of every single day. You did it for power. You lied for power, and you used your husband as a cadaver in order to try and stay in the White House. It's political necrophilia. It's disgusting. Calling it out on this channel. Like, share, and subscribe.
They did it. He just came out with that one. That was a big video. All right, let's finish up with that second Captain Kyle, the one that he was saying that he had out. What the heck? We one show tomorrow night sometime in the evening. Dang it. Oh, shoot.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to the podcast. We have returning guest, good brother, Captain Kyle, joining us from a remote, undisclosed location, as always, and he's going to be giving us his insights as to where he sees us at the height of this bubble here, geopolitically, financially, and the rest, and what's really going on behind the scenes. So if you're new to the podcast, please do like, subscribe, and share. Helps the channel grow and others to gain in the knowledge you're currently being afforded. You all know by now, Captain Kyle has been in this movement for at least 25 years. Has been a ship captain in the Houston, Texas area, and has served the country well in a number of capacities, especially in this movement. He is well heeled and has a very solid following, and we're honored to get his wisdom and insights to help you navigate to the finish line. How are you doing today, Captain Kyle?
Imagine holding $100 trillion in your hand. This is an original Zimbabwe note from one of the most extreme economic events ever recorded. No longer in circulation and getting harder to find in top condition. If you're curious,
more so than anything else, is the controlled measure in which things are actually really happening. Because what people don't really understand in all of this, and it's okay to, but the enemy that's being taken down, they have a vote too. And that's where it can actually, delay things or prolong things, or actually, kind of bring forth a little bit of chaos because they get a vote as well. Even though it's like, you're at the end of a match, so to speak, even in a chess match where that within 10 moves it's over with, but in that there's still going to be moves that you may or may not have expected, but there's no way to get out of it. It's just how bad it looks on the way out. And that's kind of where we're at right now.
Okay, great. Thank you for that. So take us through, if you can, in simplest form, between now and November. Obviously, a lot's going to happen, but I really think the meat of it is coming into second half of this year, June onward. Do you agree? And what are key things that you think people or know people should be looking for at this point in time?
Well, some of the key things that we're looking at is how is the judicial system operating? Because what's been happening over the last couple of months has been lining up on basically kind of eliminating the democratic pathway that they have kind of set in motion over the last 40 years to kind of manipulate and keep a stronghold. That's all deteriorating. So when you look at just in the redistricting, okay, and what the court just did just a couple of days ago on reaffirming I think it was the Clay case, that it was unconstitutional what they were doing. They had two more that showed up this past week or so, and they reaffirmed those as well and sent them back that they needed to be corrected because they were wrong, and that they're to be redistricted. And so if you look at it in the totality, there was 148 districts that are going to have to be restructured back to its normal basis. 122 of those are Democrat strongholds, intentionally. So there's no way that the Democrats can survive all this. And they fully are aware of it. And that's how they have manipulated, because it's never been on policy. It's always been race baiting and that control mechanism that they've operated within, and the corruption on top of the gerrymandering of the votes and everything else, and cheating. That's why Trump has brought so much attention to it. Well, now people are getting to see it, but not only people getting to see it, but the courts are now beginning to align with correcting those things that have been completely out of order.
Yeah, I'm really glad you brought that up, actually, because at some point in this podcast, I was going to ask you about the redistricting, the gerrymandering, and the impact that's going to have both in the midterms, specifically the judicial branch. So thanks for covering that. Next thing I want to
can
ask
tell you right now that the Democrats don't have a chance in hell, not even close, because of what's been going on with that.
Right. No, absolutely. I think every day is serving to prove how much clearer that's becoming, to your point. The next thing I wanted to ask you, Captain Kyle, was Tina Peters is getting out of prison here in the next, 10 days, something like that, June 1st, basically. And there's a lot behind that. Is her movement that she helped to defraud or to expose the fraud and the theft of the 2020 election, is that going to open up more of a can of worms tied to what we've talked about? And will that give President Trump another 4 years?
So as far as the situation with Tina Peters, that is that's a story in itself. And I really don't have the time to kind of go through all of that because it's an actual whole thing.
Right.
But 2020 is not even close to being over with. It's just coming back to the forefront. And when it does, things are being prepared for major judicial sweepings. And when this happens, it's going to compound upon all of the other issues that are already out there, meaning like the cases, the gerrymandering, and all this other stuff is all going to come to the forefront. And we may or may not even have
another good interview, you guys, on this
election in November.
Captain Kyle.
So don't ever forget that things are not as they always appear.
Mm-hmm. Again, I'm really glad you said that because that kind of leads into a sub-point. You saw President Trump a couple of days ago talking about the construction of the Grand Ballroom and how great that's going to be. I don't know if you saw that, Captain Kyle, but I'm sure you did. You notice how he said, this is for future presidents, that I might be stepping down when this is done in 6 or 7 months. Doesn't that kind of allude to us restoring the republic and that he's going to be the last president of the corporation?
Well, we already know he is the last president and was overseeing the what's the word I'm looking for? God, I can't even think of it right now.
It's okay.
He's been the one that has been overseeing the exit strategy for the bankruptcy, the old corporation into the republic and receivership of that. I've always believed that he was always going to be more of an emissary to the world than basically just what he was doing right now. Because of the representation that he has on the global stage, you have to understand that he's being presented to the world as a king. And every place he goes to, he's being received as royalty. And even when he just went to China just now, also back in 2017, where did he get taken to? He got taken to the Forbidden City, right? Which you do not go there if you're not a part of their lineage, so to speak, right? Mm-hmm. You're not allowed to go in there. Well, he was then. But also, where was he just now taken to again, where President Xi said, I don't take anyone here, specifically, right? Because that's the status in which he walks in globally. And he is the one that's controlling everything on the world stage. He's doing the realignment right now with the China, India, Japan, Saudi Arabia, and with Russia.
Mm-hmm.
And what does that leave
84
out?
minutes.
That leaves out all of the British imperialistic BS that has
Might
been
time
the
it right on
controller
10 o'clock,
of
guys.
basically everything that we've known, because they're the ones that have been in control. But now they're not. They're being completely set to the side, and they're being set at the little table with no vote whatsoever. And this is what's actually happening on the global stage. And this is one of the reasons, not the main reason, but one of the reasons of what's going on in Iran right now is specifically the taking down of the IRGC, because that was an establishment that was a proxy for London for terroristic acts, period.
Right.
That is being cut off completely. Now, yeah, the oil and all that other stuff is a part of all of this, but that separation is what happened as soon as they, attacked the Straits. Basically, Lloyd's of London, not only did they raise the insurance, they canceled it, which has never happened ever. And so what did they do? They actually instituted their own insurance. But still, they didn't want to take the risk of what they were doing. But this is the restructuring of the global trade and how it's actually done and who's going to be actually in charge of it. And it's setting the dominance of who used to be and was basically the apparatus of the world, which was the British Navy. That was the stronghold that controlled the global economy all over the world. Well, there's one now, and that's the United States of America. And our military controls absolutely everything within the global trade and the seas, where you're seeing us taking over the ships and stuff like that all over the place, not just in the Straits area. But we're taking them over in India, anywhere that they're found, we're taking them. So this is showing what we are able to do, why we're able to do it. But there's also other technologies that are part of Persia itself, which are more important to the entirety of this, that are underground there, that actually has to do with our ascension of this planet. And that in itself is one of the main reasons why this is happening. So if you remember back, and I don't know if you do, but if you remember back in 2017, early 2018, when Trump went on his global capitulation tour, there was one country that never capitulated. Do you remember which one that was?
Was that
Iran?
I was going to say Iran. Yeah, I was going to say Saudi Arabia, but it was Iran. Yeah.
Saudi Arabia was the first. That's where we went to very first place.
Yeah.
And
so
he
I had
got
to
the sword
correct
dance
that.
and everything else, right?
Right.
And from there he went to Israel.
Yeah.
And Israel was a extended one. It was probably one of the longest drawn out ones before capitulating, because they didn't want to. They didn't have a choice, like none others had a choice. But Iran, the reason Iran didn't is because of they don't care about any of that other stuff. The only thing that they care about, because they are a ideological terroristic group, all they care about is the survival of their ideology. They're on a 500-year program. They don't care about any of the people. They don't care about anything else that is involved in it. So just their survival is all they care about. I'm talking about the Islamic, the mullahs and all of their leadership,
Caliphate.
and then their Iranian Guard, right? that actually support them. The Iran military itself is not even a part of any of that. They're actually for the country itself. But the IRGC is a militaristic program that is nothing there for other than to keep the ideology in place 100%. And so no matter what happens right now, we could come into a complete agreement with Trump saying everything's done. They're going to give us all the uranium. They're going to shut down everything. Everything's going to be good. They're 100% surrender. And do you know what comes next?
They're still going to pursue anyway? They're going to just push ahead?
No, that's not actually what's going to happen. We could actually end this war and everything be over with. They give us all our stuff and everything else. But now what is going to actually happen is regime change. And that's going to happen from inside the country, because 90% of the actual Iranian people, which are Persian, they're not that ideology. Only a very small percentage of those that are part of all of that. They have been pushed into suppression with no means to be able to defend themselves. Just like back in January when they stood up, they had 40,000 plus killed in less than 2 days because they had no way to defend themselves. Well, there's actually a militant group inside there, and I'm not talking about the Kurds, but the Iranian Guard, that corps that is there, that are now well funded and also well armed as well, and are waiting for the signal to come back out into the streets. And when they come back out into the streets, it's about taking over each city. And by taking the cities, they're taking it from within for their own self. Because see, Iran used to be a democracy. They know what it's like. They had it all stolen from them. And so you're talking about a people that have been basically put into suppression and no way to fight their way back out of it. And this would be the next step, which the prince basically is going to come back in. And when he comes back in, he's going to allow the people to make their own decision on what they want next. So it's going to happen from within with the support of us. We'll give them support. We'll give them air support. We'll give them things that will help them facilitate it. But this isn't no Iraq, where we go and invade an entire country and try to change the people. And see, you've got all of the different, like in Iraq, you have all of the different sections of the country that are all within their own cultures. And everybody wants to be, nobody's in accord. Where in Iran, those people are Persian and they understood democracy and they had it. 47 years ago, it was taken away from them. If you go back and look in the early 70s, you could actually mistake that place for somewhere in like California because of the way it was. People used to go there because it was the Persian Gulf. They used to go there and holiday and visit, and people in Europe and stuff like that would go south and go to the Persian Gulf, go down there and go for vacations and things of that nature in the wintertime. And so this is what is different than anything else, is giving the opportunity to take down that system and to facilitate a way for those people to actually take their country back. So no matter what happens, but they're not going to give up. They're just not going to do it, because that would be them saying that they would rather, give up on their faith than actually being martyred for it. They're just not going to do it. It's not going to happen. And so this is where we're going to end up heading to. But the way it's being done is we gave them every opportunity in every situation for them to basically have an off-ramp, and they never took it. And this is what's going to end up happening. And then when that's done, basically, that's when the people will step in and take back their country.
Got it. Thank you. Thank you, Captain Kyle, for the overview on that. I appreciate it. Let's briefly, before we move forward, let's stay on this for a second, the Iran component, because like you said, this is all about regime change. It's not a war. That's just a propaganda thing, right? The ultimate goal is a regime change. And like you said in the beginning of the podcast, the bad guys want to have a say in this as well. So when do you estimate that optically we will see the end of this war/regime change? And will President Trump go out and take out the Bashar power plants of Iran, or is he making them set up to be the OG Persia again down the road? And where does the bad faction of Israel plan all this once this regime change war is unwound, if you will, publicly?
So as far as taking the infrastructure and all that kind of stuff out, those are only intentional threats. That's not how he's going to take these individuals out. Now, if you were to take out parts of it where it is only facilitating the military aspect of it, that's a totally different story. Because a lot of the people, they don't have power anyway. They don't have water. They don't running. They don't have nothing, and haven't for a long time. Don't have any internet. And you know, the way that people have actually been able to get internet out of there that are not a part of the IRGC is Elon Musk and the CIA and individuals have actually put in. They sent over 100,000 Starlink units to the country and started distributing. But those people that were found with them because they were being hunted, a lot of them got caught. A lot of them got arrested. A lot of them got killed because of it. So they're fighting for their lives, their salvation, every bit of it, not just the regime change. They're actually fighting for their life. And in that, the things that we as in the Western society and so on and so forth, we don't understand what they're going through and what they're willing to accept so that they can have their freedom back, because they're already at shit's end. Just like Cuba. Cuba's the same way. I know Cubans, okay? I know people that are in Cuba right now. I could make a phone call and find out exactly what's happening there right this minute. And the thing what's going on there is they, even though they're suffering, they want it. And it's like people hear, oh, it's humanitarian. Oh, they're suffering. No, you don't get it. They want that over. They're done with it. Until you've experienced or walked in their shoes, don't tell them what they want or need, because they're asking for it. And if they're asking for what they're getting, which that's exactly what's happening. If that's what they're asking for, then don't sit up on your high horse, Karen, and tell them what they want or what they need, because you ain't got a clue. So just shut up and sit down.
Well said. Thanks, Captain Kyle. So one last point. So inside of all of that,
we're winding down.
As the regime change happens, as the people get freedom, both in Iraq and Iran, throughout the whole of the Middle East, really, for that matter, because as you know, it's a domino effect. How does that impact and effectuate the currencies as far as the dinar, the rial, and the unwinding of the reset aspect?
It pretty much begins to free it all up, actually, because what has to happen is everything's going back to a kingdom context, just like the Northern Hemispheric kingdom. Right. That's all the Americas, whether people realize it or not. So what do you think that they just did intentionally? Because it's already been established, the North American, the Western Hemispherical Kingdom, right? Which the military's already said. So what did they just do in Venezuela, which they brought those charges, right? And then they brought the military along with the law, so to speak, into that operation on purpose, right? Well, they just did the same thing for Cuba. So Would it surprise me at any given time they're going to go and do the same thing and take out individuals along the way with it? Not at all. So that's how they're setting that up for their lawful actions. Because there's a difference between legal and lawful. And they're operating from a law and order standpoint versus a legal precedence or a legal stance, which is basically corporate and a corporate construct, which is a completely different avenue. And so they don't care about that. They care about a law and order. So why has Trump said so many times over the years that he is a law and order president? When we didn't operate on laws and orders, we operated on legalities, precedents, and policies and procedures.
Yeah.
Because that had to be all removed, and which is being done. And so once you get these things out of play, you're reestablishing the financials pretty much all over the world right now. And so the Abraham Accords is going to bring all the Middle East together, and that kingdom presence, so to speak, the Asian area, the Western Hemisphere. So all of these areas are coming together in new alliances, new understandings, and understanding equal sovereignty and bringing sovereignty of the countries into that legal and or lawful framework on economics.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone's going to have an equal playing field, which that was what Trump established. He said all the way back in 2017 after he took office.
Remember that.
We're now there. This is where we're headed into right this minute. And this is one of the things that had to take Iran out of that mix, because as long as they were still in control and power, none of this could happen.
Mm-hmm.
Because they were the black sheep in the middle of it, basically throwing poo on everything that was going, anything that had to do with it. So that is going to be eliminated. That is all going to come together. The Persian Gulf Alliance and many other things, from oil pipelines, things like that were there that never got started, just because there was a pipeline that was supposed to go across Saudi Arabia all the way up into Israel, all the way up to it was going to be for basically supplying Europe, right? Well, Saudi Arabia was about to sign the Abraham Accords with Israel and everybody, right? Mm-hmm. And this was what it had to happen for that to take place. And so in doing so, basically the day before that signing was supposed to take place, nobody knows this, but the day before this signing was supposed to take place, guess what happened in Gaza? Hamas. And when that shit happened, Saudi Arabia could not come in an agreement because of what was going on with Iran and all that stuff in Gaza. Could never happen. That was intentional. That got called in by London, 100%. And so if that wasn't a part of the deep state's playbook, then how did they have that image of it years and years earlier of that exact thing happening? Because it was a known thing. So Iran had to be removed from this equation as a terroristic regime, because see, a terroristic regime doesn't care about economics. They don't care about their neighbors. They don't care about their people. They only care about their ideology. And so you're messing with people that are crazy, and all their focus is their ideology. And so you cannot rationalize with a person that only has their ideology to operate from, which is radicalized as well. And that goes all the way back to the Muslim Brotherhood, which the British helped establish in like 1912. So if you don't think that it's all coming from Britain and from the British standpoint and the Muslim Brotherhood, which we actually determined to be terroristic organization, then you need to find out what's going on in the world. Because these are the things that are happening right now that are setting the stage to eliminate these threats and the control mechanisms that are going to be able to throw the switch so those things can actually go forward. That's where we're at.
Perfect. Thank you, Captain Kyle. Great summation overview once again. So if you can, just briefly, if you're able to just put it in a nice bow for time's sake, when do you see the announcement of the regime change and the reset financially to follow? And then to save time, I'll ask this question, because the military and moreover, President Trump administration have to let people know about all this, the EBS component. How do you see all that playing out?
EBS ain't coming in during this. There's going to be a global thing. So there's things that are actually happening that are going to set the stage for a potential nuclear event and standoff that's going to come. It's going to come later down this year, but we have to understand something is that before the actual true justice comes and for all these people to start getting arrested and for true disclosure to happen, the framework of the financial system has to change first. And the reason being is because if that does not change first and people are still in that debt slavery and no hope where they're just everything is shit, try bringing in all of that justice and disclosure of the real truth. That would be catastrophic. People are going to have to be able to have some kind of stability in their home, finance, stuff like that, to where that hopelessness does not come in. And so it's always been a part to where the financial part of it is going to come first in the before we get into the true disclosure and true exposure justice part of, these people are going to start hanging. And I mean, a lot of them quickly. Mm-hmm. But you have to think about how the average person views all these people right now. And they're not, they may be bad, but whatever, right? But not to the point of what they're going to have to experience and go through and to be privy to. And if they're in the stressors that they're in right now financially, it's going to break everybody. And I mean, break them to the point where there's, they're going to be checking out. And so even with the church individuals and stuff, they're fully aware of what disclosure is going to do. And that's why they were being brought in to talk about how they're going to deal with things, some of the things that are going to happen. Plain and simple. Because our history is not as it's been given to us. And things are not as they appear, and they are definitely not as they have been presented to us. It's all been a lie. And so if you think about just how much, if just 50% of everything was a lie, well, how much more would that make a lie because it was based off of that lie? Almost everything. So in all reality, everything that we know in our reality is based from some lie to another lie, carrying a lie, and it's all lies. And so people are going to have a really hard time understanding who they are. And that's going to be one of the hardest parts for people to understand and get through is, who am I now, 40 years old, 50 years old? I've believed this my whole life. And that's all bullshit now. That's going to challenge a person on their individuality of who they are and what they believe. And those kinds of questions cannot come unless you have eliminated the financial threat of all the other stuff. Yeah. So that's kind of where we're at.
I agree. I've always felt that, and I've said on our channel with you and with other guests many times, that the financial reset component is the foundational underlayment that is a springboard for the justice and everything you just discussed. So thanks for that confirmation. Just two more questions for the time's sake of the podcast. So as we were talking, it just came up on my feed with True Social. President Trump has just announced the official resignation of Tulsi Gabbard talk a little bit about that and the importance of that resignation and what you think will stem from that.
I really don't want to go there right now. Sorry.
That's fine. That's fine. Okay.
Because
so
it leads to several other things that I'm not ready to talk about yet.
Fair enough. That's fine. I'll respect that. The other thing, one last thing I want to ask you, Captain Kyle, going back to the beginning of our podcast, is you mentioned as well a week ago, President Trump was in China with Xi. We all know that he brought all the deep staters out and the Bill Gates and the Zuckerbergs and all those people, which they've probably already been obviously dealt with. But I kind of thought about keeping your friends close, enemies closer, but putting them out front for the world to see, right? But I understand there was a secret meeting between President Trump and Xi, and there was some discussion about President Trump not interfering with the China-Taiwan conflict because China really has a hankering to get in there. Is that going to happen, or are we seeing the optical switch from the CCP to the Republic? Is it more of a case of that? Because like you said, things are not as they seem.
So, okay, let me break this down real quick for you. The Taiwan thing has actually already happened. It's already been an agreement. All right. China's taken Taiwan. And that thing is, when they do take it, it's going to be like boom, 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 blah, blah, blah. It's going to be less than a 24-hour thing. And it's going to be over with. Okay. They're going to do this so that the optics of it. Right. But this was already discussed and done and agreed upon all the way back when Nancy Pelosi went to freaking Taiwan. That shit was done way back then. Okay. So all this other stuff is just optics and show. And the situation with all of our executives going over there, you have to understand something. They're already doing business there, every single one of them. Right? So what's the point in bringing them? Oh, we're going to do more business. No, they're not. They're already doing as much business as they can do there. Right. That's all. It was all a front. But in reality, what they really were having to do there is they were testifying for tribunals that are actually happening in China. And they didn't have a choice on whether they were showing up or not, because they've all been under those same tribunals for the military. So if you think that we're going to be able to load up all of the number one executives on a plane and carry them over to China because they're all on the same schedule and they all want to do something, you done lost your flipping minds. They didn't have a choice. But optically to the public, it was, look what we did. We got all the big names, all the top CEOs. This right here represents the majority of economic power globally. And they're all in our control, really. They do whatever we tell them they're going to do because they ain't got a choice. Because we already got them all by the short hairs because of what they're already involved in. And so that was really why they were having to go. It wasn't for any other thing. It was optics on one side, but the other part of it is they were testifying for the military tribunals and stuff that are actually taking place in China right now. So, hope that answers your question.
Brilliantly. Thank you, Captain Kyle. That makes a lot of sense, and I think that puts a lot of closure to things. So one last question, I promise, because I think this is something a lot of people want to know. So to conclude everything for today, you mentioned it a moment ago, and I think it bears another point of emphasis that the financial is going to be under layman. Are people in the public in general going to have multiple things to celebrate by the 4th of July this year?
Yes, they are. So there's going to be a lot of good things that come, but there's also going to be some difficult things that are going to come too. So it's the yin and yang. You're going to get jerked in both directions. So the thing is not to get too emotionally invested in any of it because you're not going to change any of it. So these are not for, so to speak, people that are anywhere on this podcast or with you or in your groups. The reason being is it's for those people and those people and those people ain't got a freaking clue. That's what it's for. It's to break them and to bring their awareness for moving the needle so that the needle can continue to be moved. You can't eat an elephant all in one bite. And society can only change so quickly or it will break down completely. And this is even in a positive manner. So this is why things have to be kind of slow rolled out and happen organically on purpose. But as you go further, then you can go further and you can go further. But it all has to be stepped in this way, because if you try to just take off running with technology and things, disclosure and all this kind of stuff, people would lose it. Society would lose it. So let me say one thing before I go.
Please.
All right. We have the ability to do exactly what we did in Venezuela, go in there in a couple hours, be done. We could do that in any country in the world because of the technologies that we actually have, and lose to nobody. I mean, zero. But what if we were to go into Iran and do that? What do you think the potential of destabilizing the societies of all of these other countries, superpowers around the world? It would completely destabilize all of their national security, because they wouldn't be able to stop anything that we do. Now, all of their leaders like Xi and Putin, and they know what we can do, and they can't do anything to stop it. But if we were to present that to the world and do that like on the major stage with Iran, that's why I said we're going to go in there and blow shit up conventionally on purpose. Because if we were to go in there and use our super soldiers and use our technologies and do that stuff, it would freak out the basis of national security for all these other countries around the world, because they know at that point they would be threatened and there was nothing they could do to stop it. That would break down society in those countries. So we got to kind of slow roll these kind of technologies out there, and even though we're in control over them, there's only certain ones we're going to let people know we have publicly at that realm right now on purpose. But as far as us and what we have to worry about, absolutely nothing. Zero.
Cool. Well, thank you, Captain Kyle. I appreciate that, and thank you for your time today, as always. As we wrap things up, because I know you have to get back on there.
Oh my goodness. Wow. 2 big videos from Captain Kyle tonight. Then the other video interview and what we did at the beginning of the show. So yeah, tomorrow, I'm not sure what I'm doing tomorrow. I have to do a few things tomorrow, I think. I'm not sure. But figured probably be 5 tomorrow. And so everybody have another good night and another day tomorrow. Thanks, Raj, Kay, Lucy, Carol, Tim, Wango. And God bless everybody. Love all. And stay safe, stay strong, keep the faith. And never give up. Yeah, I know, Maria. Yeah, it's exhausting. So much stuff coming out. A lot of important stuff to get out. So yeah, tomorrow evening around 5. We'll sign it off. Chico and Dude for Wednesday. Yep. Yep. I'm glad Terry said she's getting better, you guys. So just keep getting rest, Terry. All right, we'll see you all tomorrow afternoon, evening after supper. Have a good one.